And welcome back to another exciting episode of Red Dot Forum Camera Talk. I am David Farkas. I'm joined by Josh Lehrer.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
As always, we've got Jose Rivera producing the show.
Hello, hello.
I think Kirsten Vignes, our colleague, is in the comments, probably.
Most likely.
Most likely.
Yes.
Say hello.
Hi, Kirsten.
And so this is actually our third week in a row that we're on because if you recall, last Saturday, we did a special episode on the Leica Q2 monochrome. So you want to check that out if you haven't seen it. And also did a full Q2 monochrome review video that came out just a couple days after our live stream with lots and lots of sample pictures, actually like 50 sample pictures under all different lighting conditions. So you'll want to check that out as well. I have links to those below, I believe. As always, a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today, you'll find linked in the video description. So, without further ado, what are we talking about today, Josh?
Well, today is the second part of our several part,
Yes.
which I believe this may be the conclusion of, we haven't really decided yet, a series about gearing up. So gathering the necessary equipment and techniques for specific types of photography. 2 weeks ago, we talked about gearing up for landscape photography with larger cameras, S, SL, SL2, etc. This week, it's all about smaller cameras, M, CL, TL2, Q2, and all those sort of related
Nice.
cameras that are in that system. So last week was big cameras. This week, small cameras. The theme still is for landscape photography. We'll probably rope nature into that as well if you want.
Sure.
So our goal tonight is to answer as many questions as we can about the application of this equipment for shooting landscape, lenses, cameras, accessories, filters, whatever. We've got some questions that, of course, were submitted ahead of time, and we're going to be also monitoring the chat, of course, to see what comes in.
Of course.
So before we dive into the questions, why don't we maybe, or David, you can sort of break down, I sort of glossed over it, the systems that you would consider the current members of the Leica product family that you would say are going to be talked about most tonight.
Sure. Well, working kind of top down. So let's talk about the top dogs first. But that doesn't mean that whatever falls below that isn't going to be really, really good for going out and shooting landscape.
Yeah.
So I see you preparing a couple of these options for me right here.
Grabbing some toys.
We got them on deck.
They're all,
all right.
They're all dirty. Nobody cleaned these up.
I'll take this one here,
Okay.
unless it's super dirty on the back.
Probably.
A little bit. So what we got here, we're going to do kind of a two-part when we talk about M. This is I think I might be able to get a pretty close-up here.
There we go.
Okay, this is the M10 monochrome, as we can tell because it has a little label that says monochrome right
And
there.
we talked about this last week, and now we can talk about how it applies to landscape.
Yes. Okay. So that's the M10 monochrome. Ooh, we're getting a little even closer.
Ooh, I like it. All right, so that's what else we're going to talk about.
All right. And then in the M family, well, let me just talk about what this is. So this is a 40 megapixel black and white only M camera.
Yes.
And this is going to be ridiculously good for image quality. Again, if you haven't seen the monochrome video.
Are we having interrupt any connection problems? I'm just getting a message.
What do we got here?
What does the chat say?
Nothing from the chat.
No, we're good?
Nope.
Sorry, just one of our colleagues
Yeah, I think
who keeps an eye on us. Is always
just buffering
maybe-
issues.
I'm sorry, David, carry on.
Okay. Yeah. So this is like I said, 40 megapixel, full frame, interchangeable lens, rangefinder. So if you haven't seen the monochrome video, I have done a video on the M10 monochrome as well as the Q2 monochrome. But just to recap, what you're gaining is because there's no interpolation on the sensor, you're getting about 20 to 30% more detail resolution. So if you're looking for the absolute best resolving power to take advantage of these lenses, you're going to get that on the M10 monochrome. But what you're going to give up is
Color.
Yeah, no color.
I guess black and white could be considered colors.
No.
You're giving
no.
up all the other colors, all the
Yeah.
pretty ones.
You're getting tones.
Yes.
You're not getting colors.
Correct.
Okay. So it's amazingly good, incredible detail. This is just fantastic for
Yes.
black and white landscape.
Yes.
Now for color,
Straight
the top dog is going to be the M10R. And the M10R is we also have a video on. The M10R is a newer member of the there we go, of the M10 family.
Don't mind the dog slurping.
They can't hear him anyway.
Okay. I'm gonna fix
And
that.
so this is basically the color version of the monochrome. In the past, Leica's come out with a color version and then the black and white version afterwards. Here they flipped it. So the monochrome one came out in January, and this came out in, I want to say September.
M10R?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
it came out.
It's all a blur.
It came out in 2020.
Yeah, this year.
It came out this year for
Yes.
sure. In sometime in the summer fall
Yeah,
range.
summer, fall, winter, springish time.
You can look it up on Reddit forum and find out. Okay, so
No shame, no shame.
So this is a color version, 40 megapixel interchangeable lens rangefinder. What's really special about the M10R is the sensor technology is based on the larger flagship S3 medium format camera, which features really high dynamic range, and it also has this special dual gain sensor. That's what makes it kind of special in the monochrome and also here. So very, very clean for higher ISO shooting, which isn't as much of a concern for most landscape, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about later, I'm sure, for doing night landscape.
Yes.
And something that it does have that's going to be really beneficial for the landscape photographer, talking about dynamic range, is the highlight recoverability on this camera is the best of any Leica camera right now. So it has that same 3 to 4 stop shadow recovery, but it also has about an extra stop of highlight recovery. And that's important when you go out and you're shooting in these really high contrast, high dynamic range scenes.
Yes.
So the M10R is going to be the highest quality color.
Yeah, and we'll talk
available.
more about that through the evening for sure.
Yeah,
I'll take
for
that
sure.
from you. And what else? What else we got going on?
And
Yeah,
then,
this guy right here.
yep, then we have the Q2. Okay, the Leica Q2. Here we
There
go.
we go.
Very often referred to as a mini M, right?
Yes, and we had to give up the Q2 monochrome,
Yeah.
so we don't have one tonight, unfortunately, because all the ones we're getting are being shipped. But just pretend that we also have one for the
Yeah,
sake
yeah.
of
Magic.
We can still talk about it, of course.
Of course
we
we
just
can,
don't
yeah.
have one to show you. That's
Right.
all.
So the Q2, this is a full frame 47 megapixel sensor, color camera, and it actually shares a very similar sensor architecture to the Leica SL2.
Yes.
Okay, but this one is a much more compact body. It's got a fantastic 28 millimeter f1.7 lens that you cannot take off. I mean, unless you don't know, you can break it, like a chainsaw or something.
We don't
But it
encourage
is
that.
permanently attached. It is very cool because you have an always available macro mode, which is very neat. This happens to have a very close focus of 30 centimeters in normal mode. I'll just flip it there so you can see. Okay, so if I go to minimum focus, you'll be able to see there. So right there, you'll see it's 0.3 meters, which is 30 centimeters or 1 foot. And then when you flip it into macro mode, yeah, you can see that it's 17 centimeters.
Although we're probably not going to do much back. Like every episode, we end up devolving into talking about macro.
We're not talking about
I think
macro.
this time, although we've just done it, this time we're not going to talk about macro.
Just, it adds to the flexibility of the Q.
Yes. All right. So
for
what's
sure.
the other camera?
Okay,
We gotta-
and
we
then
gotta keep
pretend that this is black and white.
going. Yeah.
There's the Q2 monochrome,
Yes.
which has the advantages I mentioned about monochrome when talking about the M10 monochrome. You can check out last week's episode for full discussion on that, as well as the full review video that was posted last week as well.
I'll take that.
Okay, now we're done with M and Q.
We're done with full frame.
Yep, so those are the full frame options.
Well, there is also M10, M10P, but
True.
well, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Probably.
Those are 24 megapixel options, which
Yes. We don't want to dismiss the M10 because
Very
we still
good.
like it quite a lot.
are okay. Now I'm going to talk about
Yes.
this right here. And there we go. Okay. So right here we've got the Leica CL, and it is interchangeable lenses as well, but it is not full frame. It's an APS-C sensor format. Now, don't dismiss it out of hand that it's not full frame. I can't shoot landscape with this. That's not true. This is my personal camera. I use this a lot for my family travel and also more active lifestyle. As you can see, the wear on the front of the lens here. Get one more close up, Jose.
A little bit.
Been to
You
war.
can see this is we call that love.
Uh-huh.
They got a little love.
Patina is what it is.
Yeah, it's patina.
There you
It's patina.
go.
All right.
Experience.
So basically, this has been around a few rocks here and there on a few hikes, and the camera's great. So what's nice is this is very easy. I almost think of this as a mini SL because it's the same L mount and it's autofocus. It's very quick. It's got a great electronic viewfinder built in, and it's so light and easy, especially when you use a small lens like the
23.
Yeah, like the 23 or the 18.
Yeah, I didn't bring an 18.
Oh, you don't have an 18?
I didn't. I think you stole it.
So that's 23 there, which is equivalent to a 35, and it's just really small.
Yeah, and there's one more.
Yep.
Right. The
But
last one
But wait, there's more
over there. TL2.
right here. So this is do another pretty close up.
There we go.
There's a big red dot on the front of this. There we go. Okay. This is the Leica TL2, and the TL2 and I actually can't get full depth of field. There we go. This and the CL share the same sensor and the same processing and the same everything, except instead of a more traditional photo format there, this has a big fingerprinty. Oh boy.
I'm so sorry, Julie.
Oh no.
The one time we don't clean the cameras.
All right.
I'm so ashamed.
So this has
There
a
we
big 4-inch touchscreen interface on the back, which makes it pretty cool, and it's a unibody aluminum construction. Really, the TL2 is a work of art, and imaging capabilities are exactly the same as the CL, just a matter of style preference. But usually you can get the TL2 for a little bit less money than the CL. So if you're really just looking for the image quality and you're fine using this interface, then you can use all the same lenses and get all the same benefits. So yeah, and that gives you access to the L mount. So you get the TL lenses, which are really great, APS lenses. Or if you really want, you can mount a full SL lens.
It's going to be small cameras though, so we
But small
probably won't
cameras.
spend too much time on the giant
All right,
lenses.
so those are kind of the options that we're talking about today.
Yes, and we're going to cover a lot of cameras that we didn't just talk about, including some of their predecessors, and answer questions about whatever. But that would be what I would consider the small cameras, small system cameras in Leica's current product portfolio. So we have a lot of options in 2020. It's actually, we're spoiled for choice, as I talk about all the time,
Sure.
with cameras that will give us the ability to generate high quality images in a variety of situations that are interchangeable, flexible, and durable. So I imagine most people watching this are probably M shooters, but
Possibly.
that's more of an opportunity for you guys to have an open mind and maybe learn more about the CL or the TL2 or even the Q2 if you don't have one. So the objective or when I think about landscape photography, I don't necessarily think as much about the subject matter in the context of a video like this. It's more about what does it mean to be shooting landscape when it comes to technique. Your objective is sharpness, steadiness, stability, the highest possible image quality you can get out of that particular situation.
Sure.
Which is why I think you love to shoot medium format for landscape, because you're not walking around on the streets with it. It doesn't matter if the camera's on the larger side. It doesn't matter if you have to work slower,
Right.
focus manually, shoot at f8. You can do all those things because there's a more deliberate, technique-driven
Yes.
obsession when it comes to shooting landscape. And that's a lot about the topic of tonight, I think, is going to be using these tools to get that deliberate maximum image quality. And of course, we'll do some high ISO stuff as well. We're probably not going to talk a lot about shooting a 1.4 and ISO 6400 because
But
most of
sometimes
us-
you have to.
Exactly. But for most of us, most of the time, landscape photography is slowing down
Sure.
and just getting that highest level of image quality.
If anything, a lot of times I want a slower shutter speed
Yeah.
so I can get, a more ethereal, dramatic picture.
It's the exact opposite of shooting on the street, where all you're trying to do is get the fastest possible
Right.
shutter speed.
Right.
Sometimes you're shooting landscape and you purposefully slow
course.
down the speed,
Yeah.
whether it be initial density or stopping down your aperture. So that's, to me, the theme of both last week or 2 weeks ago and this week. This is a little bit different because I think a lot of people may not conventionally think about these tools and landscape photography because it's
Right.
so ingrained in our minds. You need a big camera. Ansel Adams used an 8x10. and all
Well,
this
and
stuff.
the M especially, just
Yeah.
talking about the M or the Q.
Yeah.
These are like street cameras.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Yeah.
like, this is for street photography.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get an M and a 35 lux. I'm gonna hit the street, or I'm gonna grab a Q and just wander around
Yeah.
and shoot street photography.
Yeah.
And we talked about these cameras on the street episode
Yeah, a lot.
because they are great for that. And no, you don't necessarily want to take an S3 for street photography. Not that you couldn't.
You've done it, so
We've all done something.
Yes.
So, but But the fact of the matter is, there's so much. I would say it used to be. Let's go back in the film only days.
Yeah.
And you had the M7, and you had an R8, or maybe you actually had an M6 TTL. Yeah, whatever.
Enough,
an M6, M7. You had a film camera M with a 35 or 28. Okay, and you had an R8 or an R9 or an R7 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you had your zooms, and you had a 19 millimeter, and you had your 80 to 200. This was definitely a camera for landscape, and then you had your camera for street.
Yeah.
But there's been so much crossover now.
Yeah.
As Leica has moved all these products forward, they've all become so capable for doing every other job.
Well, I think the number one feature that really transcended M's to allow you to do landscape was live view.
Yeah.
The live view was introduced on the M-Type 240 in 2012. It was the first digital rangefinder to have it and set the stage for Leica's future rangefinders, because live view allows you to compose and focus in a very, very precisely controlled way.
Yes.
Which you just can't quite do with a rangefinder. It also allows you to use traditional graduated filters and polarizers without some kind of mechanism.
Right.
So I think for me, the M240 was really the first M that I could comfortably take out to a landscape situation where I may have normally brought an S006, which was current at the
Yes,
time.
it was current at the time, yes.
Because I had the ability to use all the traditional tools that I was used to. So I think
that's a great point.
now we have, the M10 and all the newer cameras that all have live view and Wi-Fi and all these amazing tools that allow them to be so much more versatile in a wider variety of environments where they may not have traditionally been found.
Right.
I think we should probably get to some questions. We've just been listening to ourselves talk for a while. Is
Oh,
there anything you want to anything that pop up in the chat right away before we get to the pre-submitted questions?
Let's see.
I like Bill's question. That's a good
Hold on.
one.
I'm just going to roll it back. I don't want to be unfair here. Let's
Okay.
see.
Yes,
hi to everybody. Hello to everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Actually, it is really cool that everyone is from all over, which I love. Okay.
Oh, Dwayne's question. We can start with that.
We
That's the
could.
first one.
Sure. Go for it.
Why don't I ask you?
Okay.
Dwayne, hi Dwayne. He says, hello from San Francisco. Man, the CL with the 35-1.2 Voigtlander is amazing. I wouldn't know because I don't use that lens, but okay, cool. I need one auto lens. What do you recommend? I have a Q2 and a 50 Sumer at 2.4. So I guess he's got a 28 and a 50 in the Leica sphere,
Right.
and a 35 in the CL sphere. I know what you're going to say, but let's see what...
Actually, I'm not sure because he kind of has it covered, although...
Well, I would say if you want to get an auto lens, you should get one to replace the 35 Voigtlander. You should get a 35-1.4 TL.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but that's what I was
That's
thinking.
what I'm saying. They're coming to us for our opinions here.
Sorry. My well-loved 35 right there. So this is what I recommend. It is my favorite TL lens, and I absolutely love it. And I am kind of sure that if you put this up head to head up against the Voigtlander 35, you'd probably see it that way.
It's spectacular. It's 1.4. It's like it looks like a 50 Summilux M. I mean, it really does.
And I know we're not talking about macro, but it focuses down to it focuses down to a third of a meter to 30 centimeters. The Voigtlander being an M mount lens, a rangefinder lens, that's only going to focus down to, I'm not sure on that lens, somewhere between 0.7 and 0.7 meters and 1 meter, depending on the lens.
True.
So you can get a lot closer with this. It becomes a lot more versatile on the CL. And this is my most used lens on the CL. It translates, because of the crop, to about a 50, but it still feels like a 35 to me.
So I agree with that answer. I think...
Although it could get a 23.
Right. It depends on if you want to replace your 35 Voigtlander or augment it.
Yeah.
You get a 23 f2, which
you don't want to replace
a 35 equivalent. So now you've got something you don't have. That could also work.
Right.
Although the 28 on the Q2, you could crop that to 35 pretty easily. So I could argue it a bunch of different ways. It's going to depend on where you feel the need to fill that gap. Yeah. That was a good question, though. Okay. I thought there was another good one down there. Keep going.
Yep.
Keep going.
Let's see.
Let me ask you this, David, because I think Bill's question is good. Yeah. What would be, Bill says or asks, what would be your recommended 3-lens kit for landscape photography for high-res M cameras like the M10 monochrome and the M10R?
Personally, so I think one of the advantages of using an M camera over, say, a Q is that you have access to wider angle lenses than 28. So I would absolutely recommend a wide angle lens. You got to have a bread and butter landscape lens. And I would recommend the 21. Okay, the 21 Super Elmar. Right about there.
Yeah.
All right, the 21 Super Elmar, nice and compact. I mean, it's even smaller if you take the shade off. Although outside, I kind of recommend the shade just for a little extra protection. But that is a little jewel right there. So sharp, so beautiful.
Yeah, and the beauty of working with maybe a little bit wider than you may normally work with is because you have so much resolution. If you want to crop to a 24, let's say it just doesn't quite enough, you can do that really without giving up very much. So
I'd absolutely recommend the 21. I think that's a great lens that is absolutely capable of resolving on an M10R or an M10 monochrome. Then I would either go to a 35 or a 50.
This I think.
Yeah, if you're looking for the most resolution, the 50 Apo Summicron is going to be the thing right here. Okay, that's one of the highest resolving M lenses. And again, it follows suit that it's nice and compact. This lens is just so small and yet so incredibly sharp and beautiful. So this is going to render amazing. I think if I could only have one lens for the M10 monochrome, it's probably this lens.
Yeah,
right
and
here.
I'll interject as well. I would agree with that, and not only because this lens is incredible, but because if the objective was to get wider, and you say, well, there's only a 50, I would just do a couple of
Stitching,
like a couple stitch shots because the lens is so good.
It is.
Now,
It
the
is.
question is, those were two easy ones. What's your third? I know what my third would be, and I bet yours is the same as mine, but let's see.
So I also like telephoto for landscape. So I would say either a 75 or a 90.
Okay.
And if we're sticking with compact and high resolving power, I'm going to say the 90 Elmar.
I'm going to say the 90 Elmar, not because it's compact, but because it's the sharpest 90, short of the 90 Summilux, which is massive.
Right.
This is, and I've talked about this a bunch, and I'm always going to keep talking about it. This lens is mind-blowingly sharp. It's sharper than the 90 f2 Apple Summicron.
It is.
Like, I've tested it. It's not
It's a sleeper lens right
crazy,
here.
and it's small. I think this lens would be in my landscape kit, hands down,
For sure.
because
for
of the combination of the sharpness,
Yep.
the fact that it's nice for compression, and because if I do want to do macro, I can.
You can.
if I'm in a landscape environment. So,
Well, not only can you do macro,
Yeah.
and I think, we covered this like a lot in our previous episodes. We covered it in our 90 episode, our telephoto lens episode for M.
yes.
We covered it in our M episode. But I'm going to just mention it one more time. When you use this lens on the new macro adapter, you can keep it collapsed and get full infinity focus. When you extend it, you then go into the macro range. So you're actually able, on the old system with the goggles, you could only get macro, and you had to take it off and put it on to get full range. So now you have full range and macro without having to change the lens at all, which is great, especially if the weather is sketchy. It also keeps dust down, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if I could only have three lenses, it's going to be 21, the 50, and the 90.
Yeah.
That'll give you a big range, and then you could always just fill in the gaps where you need them. Because if you find that, gee, I love the 50, but it's just a little too tight, but the 21 is too wide, you can add in a 28, like a 28 Summicron would be great. Or you could jump to a 35, and I'd say maybe do a 35 Summicron.
Yeah.
Again, because landscape has different requirements, we're not looking this isn't all about bokeh, it's not all about low light ability, it's just about sharpness and about resolving power and the look of the scene.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of picking different lenses here than I would pick for street, because you don't need a 35 1.4 and you don't need a 28 1.4.
And I think this is why it's always hard to answer the question, what's your favorite 35? It's like, well, David just said, well, if he's doing landscape,
Yeah.
he may get a 35 Cron or a 35 Sumrit because you're shooting an f8.
Right. I don't care.
If he's doing one of his street shoots, 35 1.4.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? There's so much variability, and maybe we're going after the most compact kit possible, or who knows? I mean, which is why it's hard to answer, like, what is your favorite insert lens here question without some qualifiers?
Well, let's be realistic here, right? So we're talking about small camera landscape. Now, when I'm going big camera landscape, as you can watch 2 weeks ago, and I'm shooting with an SL and I'm shooting with this and the two other zooms, I don't care about size. I've got a backpack. I'm somewhat in shape, and I'm looking just for the most flexibility, the most, powerful kit I can get that gives me everything from 16 to 280 millimeter. But there's a reason that I'm going to go out with an M10R or an M10 monochrome and I want a small kit. I want a small kit because I might be doing a lot of hiking. I might be doing a lot of trekking, or I am not in a scenario where I can have a huge bag or a huge tripod. Maybe I'm with my family, on a road trip and there's great scenery around, but I also don't want to be like murdered and left behind. So I'm going to have something that's a little easier to use, that's going to be lighter, more inconspicuous, where I don't need this huge bag and, a huge kit. I can pare everything down, and I'm really not sacrificing much in terms of the way of image quality. Flexibility, yes, because I don't have three huge zooms. I just am making choices on smaller lenses. It's a philosophical thing.
I probably, because I shoot everything telephoto, my 3-lens kit would be like 75 Noctilux, 90 Stubulux, 135 Apo. That would be my 3-lens kit. And then you would say, well, what if you want to shoot wide? I go, David, let me borrow your 21. That's my solution to that. Because usually David and I are, we're pretty close, right? We got the walkie. So and you might laugh at me, but I've actually gone out with that kit. So maybe not those exact lenses, but those three focal lengths, without any concern, because that's the style that I shoot.
I'm going to ask you Brian's question here.
Yes, this is a good one.
So this is kind of, all right, here we go. Well, and we have some input on the lenses. There's
let's add.
I'm going to hit Steven's comment first. So Steven says the 21-34, that's the Super Elmar it showed, should be followed by a 28, then a 50 f2, then a 90 f4, except that's 4 lenses. And I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
That's what he said. He even said his fourth lens would be a 28.
But he said 3, so I got to stick to 3.
Got to stick to the 3-lens kit.
All right. Yeah. So we agree. And Zishan says the 90 macro Elmar is simply fantastic, stunningly sharp on any digital embody. Yes, we agree. Mm-hmm. It's a great lens. Very underrated. Okay. So Brian actually has 2 questions. First, I'll ask you about this. Mm-hmm. I'll ask you both these questions.
Okay.
So we showed the 21 Super Elmar. That's the 3.4.
Yes.
Aspheric. What about the 21 Elmarit Preaspheric made in 1994? Mm-hmm. 1984.
Yes.
But he bought it new in 2000, just at the cusp.
Right. So I've actually been experimenting with this recently because we've had a couple of 21 Elmar Preaspherics run through the shop. And it's nowhere near as good as 21 Super Elmar, but it has a totally different look. And I probably wouldn't use it wide open for landscape. Stop down, it's pretty darn close. Corner sharpness and distortion. Distortion, I should say distortion first. Even at f8, you're going to see more distortion, more like, actually knock something off the table. Wow. You're going to see more distortion in the corners for sure. If you take one with a 21 Preaspheric and a 21 Super Elmar and you flip between the two, it's like funhouse mirror. But it is a different look. I think also ergonomically and with the hood, it's not nearly as nicely designed as the 21 Super Elmar. So if your budget allows, I'd get a 21-34, sell or trade the 21 Preaspheric.
Yeah.
But of course, if you want that look, it's fun. It's a fun,
right.
It just looks a little more vintage, which is kind of hard to get sometimes with a wide angle lens. So we did a whole video on wide angle lenses.
We did.
Which you probably watch, but if you haven't, watch it. And if you want me to send you my sample pictures of, because I've done this for a few people, of the 21, I have all the 21s compared. Just email me and I'll send you. I have a whole Dropbox folder and stuff. You said that was 2 questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the second question from Brian is, you guys keep talking about the M10R. Is my M10P totally out of date?
Yes, throw it away. No, here's the thing. And I talk about this.
That's a joke, by the way.
Yes, I'm kidding. Every time a camera gets an upgrade, people tend to forget how excited they were over the last one. The M10 is probably now the most underappreciated camera in Leica's lineup because you've had M10D, M10P, M10 monochrome, M10R, special editions, lenses, new gadgets. So the M10, which has been out for over 3 years now, has kind of gotten buried under all that hype. But every time that I go and test the M10, I'm reminded of the incredible color and the clean images you get at ISO 3200. I think that if you own an M10 now, if you're asking me, should I get an M10R? But really it comes down to budget, but also are you satisfied with the resolution? Do you feel like those files are just the right size for your computer and your printing and your processing? Do you feel that, you're shooting maybe lower contrast scenes or converting to black and white or whatever? Or maybe you don't have an M, or you have an older M, and you think, oh, well, I have a 240. I don't want to spend another $6-7 to get an M10R, but I don't want to buy old tech buying an M10. No, the quality that the M10 puts out, especially for what they're going for now on the pre-owned market, is crazy.
Yeah.
And don't forget, the M10 is 90% of the M10R. The same view, the
M10P,
or the M10P, yeah.
That's even closer.
But I'm saying the viewfinder that's improved is the same. The screen is the same. All these things are shared. So it's still a very relevant camera. So I don't think, I certainly wouldn't be sad if I had an M10P.
Well, look at it this way.
Yes.
I mean, Leica was very deliberate here. The M10R is not the M11.
Yeah.
The M10R is a variant of the M10, just like the M10P and the M10 monochrome. So they are all in the M10 family, which means everything inside of those cameras, the body, the electronics, the battery, the viewfinder, everything, except the sensor is different between 3 of those models. And the shutter is different in the M10P and the M10R and the M10 monochrome. But yeah, the M10P, it has the same guts as the M10R and the M10 monochrome, except for the sensor. But it is an excellent camera. So I agree with Josh. It's just, do you need more resolution or more dynamic range? If you are saying, no, I'm completely satisfied with what I have, then no, your camera's not out of date at all, and it will do the trick. I would say that if we're talking only about landscape photography, just this is me being landscapey, I think that maybe the M10P might be better suited to street photography, and the M10R would be better suited to landscape in a perfect world. That's not to say that you can't use the M10P for landscape. It's just the M10R is going to offer you something a little better. How much better is up to your needs.
Yeah.
All right.
We got it. We got a lot of questions coming in. Let's try to get some more rapid fire answers.
You can ask me that. That's also from Brian.
Well, not for landscape.
It's an easy one, yeah.
Brian asked, what about a 90 Elmerit?
Yes.
David loves that lens, although
I use it for landscape. It's discontinued
we talked
for a long
about it
time.
before on the telephoto, so I don't want to have David wax poetic about it.
No, but I love the 90 Elmerit modern version
11807.
That one.
Yeah.
With the slide out shade. I have 2 of them still, one in black and one silver. I use them all the time. I am very sad that Leica discontinued it in 2006, but if you can find it, it's a great lens. And it's equally high resolving power to the 90 macro at stop down.
No, it's not.
Ish.
Oh, it's not.
I want to believe that it is.
You can't say that. That's not true. At F8, maybe it's 60-70% of the way there, but the 90 macro.
Oh, and actually, Dr. Howard has the same thing, Elmerit M. Yep. Okay.
Keep going.
We're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that. Don't worry. Steve has a question on bags. We're going to loop back around.
Start talking about bags. That's the end of the day. So.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. I promise. There's bags hiding.
Keep going.
Not. 50 Apo, 90 Elmerit, 2.8. Yes. A lot of people love the 90 Elmerit.
It's a great lens. I mean, it's affordable. It's got a good heft to it. Especially in silver when they're brass, are real solid.
Okay, what about this one here?
Which, SC?
Yeah, SC.
Okay. SC Loop asks, what is your opinion of the 16-18-21 Trialmar on the M10 monochrome or the SL2 for landscape?
Sure. You can use it. I have used it. I prefer the 18 Super Elmar or the 21 Super Elmar or the 24 Elmar. Actually, those are the wrong. Just
18 and 21.
The 18 and the 21.
Yeah.
It is the only Leica lens that will get you all the way to 16, though. So bear that in mind. And it is a true zoom, especially if you're using it on live view. You can actually use it. I don't know if you need to, but you can actually use it between the settings of 16, 18, and 21. Anywhere on that range, on the ring, even though it has detents, you can actually stop it anywhere to get precise framing in live view. So it's cool. I mean, it's basically the only real zoom for the M, and it is a wide angle zoom. So you can stop it down to f8 and get pretty darn sharp results with it at every focal length. And it's flexible, but I'd probably prefer it on the M if we're going to try to, I'd say the M10 would be a better fit for it on the M10 monochrome. The SL2, if I was shooting with the SL2, I would just grab the 16 to 35 because it's going to be a superior lens. If you're already willing to carry the extra weight of the SL2, just get an SL lens. Just you're gaining weather sealing, autofocus, higher performance, all that.
Yeah.
But the wide angle trauma is fine. I don't know. You have anything to add?
I think to myself, how often am I going to need 16 millimeters for landscape photography? My subject matter would have to be right in front of me, or I'd have to be in some kind of cavern or canyon.
We can arrange that.
Okay, you make a call.
I'll make a call.
Where's Josh? He's in a cave. Okay. No, but I think for me that's just too wide for a lot of what I'm doing. So I don't know if I would have that lens with me most of the time. I don't know. Personally, it's fine. It's a fine lens, and hard to filter because you have to have the E67 filter adapter. So if you're doing a lot of polarization or ND,
that's
it's
true.
a little more ungainly. Whereas at least the 21 Super Elmar is a standard E46.
True.
People forget about that.
Right.
Choosing between the 18 Elmar or Super Elmar and the 21 Super Elmar, you forgetting the fact the 18 is discontinued. The 18 also needs the E77 filter adapter. 21,
much bigger
E46,
filter.
you just pop it. It's so easy to filter that lens. So that's a big advantage.
And if you have a 24, if you have a 28 Summicron, it's also the same E46. And if you are lucky enough to have a 24 Elmar, also E46.
Right. So if you're talking about packing small, you all have the same size filters. You don't have to have adapters. It's less stuff to bring. So that's a factor.
That is good. And you could easily get a 39 to 46 step ring for your for a 90.
Sure.
Like this is 39, and the 50 Apo is also a 39. So you could theoretically just have a set of 46 millimeter filters that covers all your lenses.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep your kids small.
Small is good.
I saw some other good questions in here.
What someone wants to know
Professor Farkas, what is your favorite M tele lens for the M system?
Are we talking about character, flexibility?
I mean, the 90 Elmarit, you just said.
Yeah, I mean, I love the 90 Elmarit, but I gotta say, like, if we're talking about pure landscape, it's gonna be split between the 90 Elmarit and the 135 Apo, or this one that I'm telling you. But I personally have the other one and love it for other things. But this is one of the sharpest tele lenses from Leica to ever be available for the M system.
You're a little soft there. There you go. I think the 135 sometimes gets a bad rap just because it's hard to use relative to a 90.
On a rangefinder, it is.
Yeah, because it has a very, very shallow depth of field.
But at infinity for landscape applications.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and this is going to give you a lot more reach than anything on the table.
Yeah.
And it's really not...
Well, not anything on the table. Anything M on the table.
Anything M. Native M. This is the longest you get for native M.
Yes.
So it's kind of nice to have that flexibility, and it's actually pretty light. What is this like?
It's not bad. It's a 3.4. It's also an E49 filter size, so if you have a Q2, all your filters will work.
It's like 600 or 700 grams?
Yeah, it's pretty light.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of the more misunderstood M lenses. One of these days, we're going to do an episode.
Well, these are the misunderstood M lenses.
Yeah,
right
the two, the 90 macro and then the 135 Apo.
They're amazing lenses, though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad Leica still makes them since they seem to be at a discontinuing tear in 2020.
Okay.
I know I saw at least a couple more good questions. Oh, I want to ask you
that one?
No, the one above David DB design.
Yes.
I'm going to ask and answer it because I have an answer and you'll have an answer.
Okay.
With David DB design visual media, wouldn't you prefer a weather sealed camera and lens for landscape? Well, in a perfect world, yes. Although for me, I am a delicate flower and don't like to get wet. So I'm shooting not in the rain. So no, I don't need a weather sealed camera personally. If my priority is if I'm going on a hike on a sunny day and I just want to have a lightweight kit, I'll bring an M or a CL, which aren't weather sealed, and that's okay. If I'm going to a waterfall in New Hampshire where I'm going to get wet, okay, what are your thoughts on that?
There's different viewpoints also to photograph that waterfall. You don't have to stand underneath it. You can stand off to the side of it.
Yeah.
You can stand downriver and shoot up at it.
And let's not forget the M10 is weather sealed. It's the lenses that are not. So it's the camera gets a little spray.
And the fact is the lenses aren't weather sealed per se, but the manufacturing tolerances are really tight. So if it's a little bit of a sprinkle or spray or whatever, just make sure to wipe it down, and you're fine.
Yeah.
But obviously, I tend to go places where I do get pretty swamped. And I deal with a lot of nasty weather, and that's why in those cases I choose to take the SL2 or the S3 because that's going to be my go-to where I don't have to worry about it. But there's a but. if we're talking about small landscape systems, let's say that I'm going to the American Southwest. It's dry. There is no weather. I mean, it barely rains there a few days a year. And I have traveled in Utah, in Arizona. When we went to Monument Valley, there was like, it was so dry, like, we're chugging waters like it's going out of style. So the last thing you need is weather sealing. It needs to be sealed against dust, but all of these are pretty well, the body's sealed. And as long as you're not changing lenses, you should be in good shape. So I think it really depends where you're going, where your destinations are, where your travels take you, where you want them to take you. And if you're a fragile flower like Josh, you're never going to... A delicate flower, I'm sorry. sorry.
We don't like to get wet, Like Enzo and I we share that. We don't like to get wet.
The dog, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we don't
So, yeah.
I think it's... people get distracted by that. Like, oh, it's not weather sealed. I can't shoot landscape with it.
But like, they can.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
I mean, all the cameras before the S2 were not weather sealed. I mean, there have been millions and billions and trillions of landscape photos generated over the years by cameras that are not weather sealed. So don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. What else?
Steven says, good shout out on the 135. Absolutely incredible.
Nice.
There you go.
I think Kelly's question...
I agree with David. Bad weather results in great photos. Generally speaking.
Yeah.
I have a whole article about that.
Yes. It is...
Pacific Northwest. Okay, so it is a bit wet there. So I advise go to the American Southwest. Just get in your car.
and drive.
Utah's not that far away.
Yeah, like what, 20 hours? 30 hours?
I think it's only like 10 hours away.
Okay, there you go.
Idaho, that's dry, right?
Yeah.
Colorado's pretty dry. No, in all seriousness, what I might recommend for practical purposes, if you're really concerned about that, because Pacific Northwest also has some nice days too. I've been there. You can have a main, let's say an M kit, and you could add a Q2. A Q2 is weather sealed. And instead of having a 28 millimeter lens, so let's say you have 21, 50, 90 for your M kit, get a Q2. This is your 28. Okay, so you have a weather sealed 28 that you don't have to worry about, and you can go out in bad weather. The rest of the stuff stays in the car, stays in the camera bag until the sun comes back out.
Yeah, think of the Q2 as your weather sealed 28 M lens.
Yeah, backup.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic landscape camera.
Yeah, you're not giving up any image quality at all.
No,
using it.
not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
So you have some choices. Or let's say you have a Q2 monochrome and you have a color M10R. Like that makes a nice kit too. So don't just think in terms of, everything has to be weather sealed or nothing at all. There's a place to meet in the middle where you can still keep a nice small kit, but also have some redundancy.
I'm from Hanoi. What time is it in Hanoi right now?
Oh my gosh.
So he's got it really late or really early. I guess it's really late, early. I don't know how time works.
Yes, we agree. 21, 3.4, and 50 Apo are a great landscape.
Yeah,
kit.
my 4x5 isn't weather sealed. That's true.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody asked a question I want to ask you. Scroll up.
This one?
No, Kelly had I think we could talk a bit about that particular, basically how you can't do that with an M. No, Kelly's question?
Where is it? Oh, graduated neutral density?
Yeah, because you can't really, this is one thing you can't do at the moment.
You can.
Wait, the question is, let me ask you, and then I think this is a perfectly okay time to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So Kelly asks,
and I have it over there. So I can share.
Recommended graduated neutral density filters go all the way to a 4-inch kit on an M10R, or is there something small?
So yeah, actually no, the other one.
You want this kit?
Yeah, that one. Not the bottom one, just the top pieces. Yeah. So all right, I'm gonna answer your question with yes and yes. There are smaller kits. There are 3-inch kits, I believe. I don't know. I can't speak to the quality. If you watch last episode, I'm kind of in that transitional period where I'm moving to breakthrough photography for all my filters. And I've just been extraordinarily happy with the color neutrality and the sharpness and everything. I have not used anything of this quality previously. So while there is smaller filter kits, I can't tell you what the quality is of them because I haven't used them. And if it's anything, everything that I've used before this is not as good. So this being the best, you can use, and I should have grabbed it, you can use a 4-inch filter kit on an M camera.
It's not practical for graduated filters.
There's step rings.
No, but I mean the grads, there's such a small part of the My experience has been with the small lenses.
Yeah.
If I only have 46 millimeters of front element to work with,
It's very touchy. It's very
not.
touchy.
I don't know. It's hard, in my experience, to use graduated filters with M lenses.
Yeah.
It's easier with live view, but it's
not ideal.
That's an opportunity for breakthrough to make like little baby ones. Like
Maybe they will.
Like little 2-inch ones.
It's possible. We never know. So yeah, this obviously, if you're mounting it on the front of
Really good for
just to give you an idea of what a 46.
Get a close up of that, please. 39, but you know.
Oh yeah. So this is a 39 filter, and you can see that's a 4-inch filter kit just for
You would have to
just for scale there.
like keep that up. Where do you have a grad in here somewhere?
The long one.
Okay,
Here.
hold on.
Yeah, that one.
So if you were to hold,
We're just going to use the grad only.
If you were to hold a grad, we're just going to hold it. You can see.
I'm just going to hold it off to the side here.
Yeah, do that. Kind of like move it over the lens. So they can see.
Well, they can't see the graduation right there. So like what Josh is saying is that the area that you have over the lens.
Yeah, they can see that.
Can you see that?
Yeah. No, you could do it. That's a hard edge grad. You could do it with a hard edge grad. That would work.
Yeah.
A soft edge grad, probably the transition would take up the whole front of the lens, probably.
Yeah.
This would work.
It's doable.
It would just take a little bit of,
Practice.
a little bit of levels, but you could do it.
What might be a better option and just easier overall? I mean, I am a huge proponent of just get it right in camera, but it's also very easy just to go into bracketing and shoot off a bracketed sequence and merge it later. I know that's not quite as easy, but it's an easy solution where you don't have to worry about having filters and rings and all that.
Yeah, I think Lee tried to make the RF75, which was kind of fiddly, and
That's 3-inch.
I don't think. I think no, there's
75 is 3-inch.
Yeah.
Yeah. If 100 is 4, 75
That's
is
true. Okay, yeah. So
Math,
3 inches,
math.
math is hard. I was never a huge fan of it. I don't think it sold that well, but there's an opportunity for breakthrough if enough people are using them for M. I just don't know if there are.
Kelly says, with a flat horizon, I use a hard edge filter with EVF.
There you
which
go.
Is exactly what Josh
That's
just
exactly
said.
what David did. All right.
Okay. 7.5
the
filter.
7.5,
That's
yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
Josh is saying.
Yeah. I think they re-engineered it. They used to be called the 7.5 numerically. Now it's called 7 spelled out and then 5.
Right.
I haven't tried the redesigned one, so I'm not going to speak to it because I haven't used it.
Correct. Okay. So, what do we want to talk?
We have more questions.
Let's see.
Scroll up. I saw one. Hi, Enzo. Enzo says hi back.
No, he doesn't.
Plus, Jose has some questions. He's been pretty much useless to us this entire time. So, Jose, why don't you?
Oh yeah, I'm here. Yeah, that's right.
Jose is here. You have earned. I'm so sorry to keep you in silence. Talk to us.
Yeah, we have some questions that came in earlier, so
Yes.
Yeah.
we can get to those.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, so you guys have kind of covered this already, but let me see. Pros and cons of using an M for landscape.
That's a valid question.
Yeah.
What do you say to that, David?
Small. Still solid build. I mean, it's very rugged and durable. Extraordinarily high quality lenses. So you have access to all the M lenses. If you really want, you also have access to R lenses, which, I mean, like this,
The big guy.
the 180. But generally speaking, it's the size to performance ratio is extraordinarily high on an M. And that's what has, I mean, for the last 60 some odd years, that's been the M.
Yeah.
You get this extremely high image quality in a very small size. And the fact that it's just, it's super rugged, all metal body. This is not a plastic camera. The M, it's just so satisfying to use it. And why not? Why not use it for landscape photography? I guess that's our point.
Yeah, I think you don't always want to bring not only the camera and lenses that are required for what I would call like a full-size SL2 or S kit, but also the bag, the brackets, the tripods, the cable release, the transportation, all of the other elements required. You can go from a bag you have to check to a bag you can fit under your seat for the same level of image quality, basically.
There it is.
So I think it's not just about features, but about size and the relative size of the accompanying components.
Sure, everything gets smaller.
You could have an M and 5 lenses in a bag that would fit an SL2 with 1 lens.
Well, just
do you
hand me
want?
the filter nest there, the mini.
Yeah, this little guy?
Yeah.
Here.
And then do you have a 46 millimeter filter handy?
I have a 49.
Yeah, or what's that one?
That's also
Oh,
a
yeah,
49.
49,
I only got 49s today, apparently.
So just as I'm just going to show, just as a size comparison, when we talk about everything being smaller, Now, these are two completely different filters.
But
So just
conceptually, it's
conceptually. Okay, that is Dusty. Okay, that's an 82 millimeter filter for SL or for S lenses. Okay, that is a 49 millimeter filter for some M lenses and the Q.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can see big difference in terms of size. So everything becomes larger on a larger camera system. And now I have to, accommodate multiple filters. Or if I'm going to use a 4-inch filter kit, it's that big. Everything around it becomes bigger. I'm going to use a 3 or 4 series tripod on a big kit where I can use a 1 or a 2 series tripod on an M.
Yeah, everything becomes scaled down because the demands are not as great. And not to mention, if you're going to be switching, or let's say you're doing landscape like we would do in New England, and we stop at a small town and there's like a crafts show or something.
Walk around.
You can walk around with an M. It's not intimidating at all. And it reverts back to its natural habitat of being like straight walk around. So there's a lot of value to that. Not to mention the adaptability of using, as you mentioned, R lenses and older M lenses and all kinds of I've seen some weird stuff. We got a lot of questions. This is what happens when we just keep rambling. David and I have not used the leaf filters, so we can't on the small one, so we can't speak to it. If someone has a good experience or a bad experience with it, tell us in the comments.
Especially if they've directly compared it to the breakthrough system,
which they probably haven't.
Which
but
they haven't,
I like an M with a collapsible lens can fit in a larger coat pocket. That's so true. You could get away with a big coat and have a full M kit in there.
I feel like a magician.
Not even have a camera bag.
Where do the doves go though? You have to put
those are your
doves
sleeves, though.
and the flowers.
The flowers there, then the slinkies or whatever. So there's a lot of merit to that, and not to mention, I think there's a lot of cool lenses you get in the M line that you don't get in the SL or the S line.
Yeah.
50 and 75 Noctilux, 18 Super Almars, pretty amazing. 50 Apple 135 vintage lenses. All these focal lengths and renderings and looks you don't get.
Yeah, I'm gonna say right now on workshops that I've led, I can actually think of at least 2 people, one or 2 of which might be watching this live stream right now, who went around. It was 2 different trips in Iceland, and they both used an M camera and a 50 Noctilux. 3 people. I now remember, 3 people have shot with an M and a 50 Noctilux when we went to Iceland. And as you know, the weather's pretty atrocious in Iceland most of the time. And they got very different pictures than everybody else in terms of the look and applying that really unique Noctilux look to a landscape type of trip, which was really fascinating. I'm waiting for one of these people to pipe in.
If they're here.
But also, I remember, I'm just thinking about the same guy. One of these guys also had 21, and he was doing amazing pictures with the 21 Super Almar on his M10. And the Noctilux was for a certain look, and the 21 was again, that bread and butter landscape lens. So what Josh is saying is you have access to this glass that gives you a very different kind of look.
There's a quick question I want to answer. Why are there not more zoom lenses for the M system? That's because with frame lines, you can't really have a zoom. They tried it once with the 28-35-50 Trailmar, which was super complicated and not that reliable. Interesting lens, fun, kind of collectible now, but M is about prime. That's just the virtue of the M system. If you want to zoom, they have CL, TL, SL, S. Jeff wants to know about using TL lenses on an SL2 for landscape. As long as you're okay with the 20 megs over 47, the lenses are excellent. They're just as good on a CL as they are on an SL2. 11 to 23, maybe 35-1.4, 60 macro, and maybe the 55-135, depending on how big your bag is. Pretty nice kit.
Yep.
The thing is, the advantage those lenses give you is not just the lightweight, which you get with M lenses, is autofocus. So I don't think I don't need autofocus for landscape photography as much.
Right.
So here's what I would say to that. For landscape photography, I probably veer more towards M lenses on the SL2. They're the same size and say average them out, similar size and weight to TL lenses, but you get full frame.
You do.
I would, for walking around, any kind of other photography where I wasn't on a tripod, that's where the TL lenses on the SL2 are really going to shine.
Where resolution isn't as important,
Right.
but flexibility is.
Flexibility, autofocus,
speed.
and
Right.
zooming, right, which you don't get on the M lenses.
Yes.
Yes, the mate, yes.
Okay. Jahabar, we actually answered. He was asking about the 16, 18, 21 on the M. We actually just rewind this about 15 minutes. We talked about
And
that
also
lens.
in the wide angle M lens video. But let's scroll up a little teeny bit. I know we missed some questions. I don't want to leave anybody hanging. I live in Houston. What is a coat? Kelly, that's the thing you put on your house, a coat of paint. There was another one.
It gets chilly.
I've been in Houston with
yeah.
Dallas for the Super Bowl. There was snow on the ground. I remember 10 years ago.
Let's see.
21. We missed some question somewhere.
I don't know. We'll find it. But Jose, what do you
Jose's
have?
got more stuff for us. Go ahead.
Sure. Question from Sanford. Any tips for using a monochrome camera for landscape photography?
Yeah. I'd say find a good subject, find good light, great location. No. In all seriousness, with monochrome, I think, especially for landscape, when you've seen those really dramatic black and white photographs, almost all the time they're shot with an orange or a red filter, like just flat out, because it just makes the scene so much more dramatic. So I would say for black and white, do not forego the color filters. That's going to be a really big difference because you don't have channel mixer after the fact. You're shooting it in camera, and it's difficult to apply those same kind of per color contrast settings after the fact than it is just to use a color filter.
And I think conceptually, the absence of color forces you, this is obvious, forces you to think about lighting and composition so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes the way your brain sees a landscape. So I think we did a whole workshop in Ireland.
Yeah, and we have
monochrome.
we have upcoming monochrome workshops coming up.
Yeah, we do monochrome specific workshops.
I have a link to it right in the
Some of which are landscape photography. So
Yeah.
if you want to learn more about that in the real
video
world,
description. Yeah.
check out the links in the description. You can see for yourself.
I would also make a big recommendation. Public service announcement right here.
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about monochrome. Monochrome has a lot less highlight recovery. Now, this applies to all landscape technique, no matter what camera you're using, but especially for monochrome shooting. And I don't know why I didn't say this right off the bat. Protect the highlights at all costs. Okay, part of landscape is having details and nuance and tonality. If you blow your highlights, I don't care how pretty the picture is. Your highlights are blown out and you're never getting them back. So make sure when you go out, you're going to be shooting generally at low ISO. And the monochrome cameras especially have huge dynamic range in the shadows at low ISO, like 4 stops. -1, -2 EV. Make sure that you have no blown highlights when you review your picture. There's no flashing.
It's not from like specular highlights and metal, things like that.
Yeah, like light glinting off of
Yeah.
ice or something like that. That's one thing. But if you're shooting a really contrasty scene with bright sun and a shadowy foreground, expose for the sky. Let the foreground go dark, bring it up in post, and you will be surprised at how much information is there.
Yeah, and we've talked about this to death in the monochrome video, so watch that as well. I just want to quickly address a question very quickly. Scroll up, blah, 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 blah. No, scroll up. It was JDD asked, M10 using live view framing and focusing adapter 90-280 SL. You cannot mount SL lenses on the M. You can mount M lenses on the SL, but not the other way around.
It is not possible.
That will not work. Sorry. Will the SL2 work? Jabbar asks, will the SL2 work as well as a backup for M in atrocious weather? Well, no, not if you're going to use it with M lenses because the M lenses aren't weather sealed.
But it'll work if you have a 24-90.
That's right, but then it would probably be your main camera and the M would be your backup at that point.
Which isn't unheard of either. I know a lot of people who travel with an M and an SL kit.
Jose, what do you got? David needs to answer more questions. What do you got for David?
All right, I got one from Sharon. Focusing with a Leica M and rangefinders on landscapes. Best practices?
Yes. Don't use autofocus.
Come on, give me a serious.
Okay. In all seriousness, again, most of the time you're going to be stopped down, and on the where's the 21?
Here.
Okay, let's put that on a camera.
You want to?
I got it.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Okay, we're going to put it on here, and I'm going to show you the things. Okay. I'm going to try to show you the thing. Right there.
There you go.
Okay. Now, on an M lens, there we go. Okay, on an M lens, nope, not quite. Okay, there we go. Crispy. So on an M lens, you'll notice there's this scale here. I see a lot of people where they're shooting landscape and they just put it right on infinity. So what's going to happen is you're throwing away your depth of field after infinity, right? And you can see those markings there. F8 goes pretty far. So if I turn that, where
You're a little
infinity...
soft there. Come back up. Back up.
There we go. If I turn that where infinity is on F8, and now, let me turn the other way. Okay, now my depth of field is carrying from, here, 3 feet, or about 1 meter, to infinity at, let me change the aperture to be accurate, F8. Now, I have heard people say, well, that's not totally accurate in digital. And you're kind of right. So what I do is I tend to underestimate. So I'll do it by 1 extra stop. So if I put infinity at 5.6, now I'm getting, let's say to the 5.6, I'm getting 4 feet, which isn't much less, 1.2 meters. So 1.2 meters to infinity at F8. You'll notice I'm actually focused to 2.5 meters right now. This gives me the most depth of field, and it gives me insurance. So I have depth of field extending past infinity, and almost, with 4 feet, just down to my feet if I'm on a tripod. So that's kind of where I would say, don't think about focusing on the subject. Think about focusing for the scene. And use the depth of field scale that you have on the lens, but just to guarantee that, you're not missing focus at all, where infinity is just slightly soft, just roll it back 1 stop on the scale, which accounts for that sort of extra demand that digital places on it versus film. And I think you're good to go there because, look, 1.2 meters to infinity that's the whole scene.
Yeah, what more do you want?
And the thing is, by shooting at f8 and not, listen, we've talked about this before, don't shoot at f16, you're going to maximize the quality of the sensor. Because especially when we talk about the M10R and the M10 monochrome being 40 megapixel sensors, the pixel size is much smaller than it is on the M10, M10P. So you can't stop down as much. So you will notice a sharper picture at f8 than you will at f11. And that actually might be a reason, let's say, to not get rid of your M10P, because you can shoot it at f11 and get that same level of sharpness and get a little bit more depth of field. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there.
Yeah.
But that's my biggest recommendation in terms of how to use the focus system of the M. Don't get caught up looking through the rangefinder and trying to, no.
Yeah.
That's for people.
But of course, we have live view now, so we can use live view.
But live view is going to lie.
Usurps that.
It's going to lie to you as well, because it's not going to give a depth of field. Well, I guess
Yes,
it is.
it will. Yeah,
yeah.
you take out an SL level.
Right, on an SL
M, yeah, you'll get a
that's true.
real preview. We have to take a break for a second and talk about something totally unrelated that is new and awesome, only because it was my idea, which is, if you're familiar with us, we have Red Dot Wear, which is like our in-house brand for like hats and shirts and stuff. And every now and then we'll like feature something new. Well, we have a new thingy, which is a new shirt, which Kirsten designed, but I'm taking full credit for the idea. This is...
Yeah, that was your idea.
It was. This is the legendary Leica lens hood t-shirt. It features... Can I get a close-up on this at some point?
Wait. See?
It features 9 of Leica's most legendary M-System hoods. Oh, you're never going to get
You got to bring it forward.
in focus here. Hold on. Oh, goodness.
There you go.
There we go. That's not bad.
Up a little bit. Yay.
There we go. So this is... They're all kind of like...
You got to lower down a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. So this like this really cool kind of like on black, like Wall Street Journal-esque type of rendering. Anyway, so if you're a huge Leica nerd, as you all know I am, that's how you know this was my idea, and you want to wear a shirt where everyone is really confused as to what it is, legendary lens hood. It's like super soft.
I just wore mine yesterday.
This color is called oatmeal. I
Yeah,
think.
it's oatmeal. I like it. It goes with jeans.
So thank you,
goes with
Kirsten,
khakis.
for realizing my dream of having the nerdiest Leica t-shirt ever.
It is super duper nerdy.
I just had to feature that because it's new and it's awesome.
Red dot
And-
wear.
If I meet you one day and you're not wearing one of these things, we can't be friends. Okay. There was a question from Art that I wanted to.
Is the shirt 100% cotton?
No, the shirt is.
Is that the bamboo one?
No, this one is. I have it here. 50% poly. What is poly?
Polyester.
Polyester. 38% cotton. 12% rayon.
So
it's
tri-blend.
it's
Tri-blend,
a
very
tri-blend,
comfy.
more
Yeah.
breathable.
And
they
doesn't
run-
shrink.
They run a bit large, so FYI. All that stuff's on our website in the listing, but.
Lewis says, I would call the center lens hood more infinite than famous.
Which one was the center one? I forgot
Let's see,
already.
what do you got there?
The center one is the 11, the one for the 3514, yeah.
Oh gosh, that
Well,
one.
that's the one for the 3514 double spherical, so it's actually pretty legendary.
Ah, not the 11874.
No, not that 12589.
Oh.
Art had a question that I want to ask you because I think it's just a bit of a misconception.
Oh, okay.
there. Yeah. If you're shooting, Art asks,
Yep.
if you're shooting in black and white mode with the M10, M10P, or M10R, and with auto white balance on, will auto white balance defeat the use of a yellow, orange, or red lens filter?
I don't think it will. Probably not.
Well, no, because you don't want to use a yellow, orange, or red filter on a color camera.
Well, it will see. It doesn't have the same effect as a black and white camera, but it has some effect because it is still filtering certain wavelengths of light.
but the thing is,
it's
all your
really-
color files are going to be totally
Wonked out.
Wonked
yeah.
out.
I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it because you have something in Lightroom called a color mixer, a channel mixer, a black and white mix. They keep changing the names. So either in Lightroom, Photoshop, whatever program you use, there is a multicolor channel mixer, usually with the primaries and secondaries, which means you'll have red, green, blue, magenta, cyan, yellow. Sometimes it has orange and green and whatever. It has other colors as well. And you can add, how dark or how light those particular colors will be, and that will essentially have the same effect as a red filter. There's even presets in Lightroom for a red filter or an orange filter when you're doing black and white conversions.
So you should only use color lens filters on a monochrome camera.
Yeah.
You should not use them on a color camera. That wouldn't make sense.
I mean, you could.
You
just-
shouldn't. You shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't, but you could.
Yeah. Scroll down.
No one's going to come and arrest you or anything.
I mean, you don't know that for sure, but probably not. What do we miss? What do we miss? What do we miss? No. Keep going.
L bracket for the CL?
Not that I know of, but
Oh, is the CL plus the 18L Merit pocketable?
Curvier asks that.
Big
pocket.
I like having a quick camera when doing landscape as well that I can use offhand. Well,
You don't have an 18, but not in a cargo pocket, or not in a cargo pocket, but not in like a jeans pocket. It's too-
No,
it's too
not a
big.
jeans pocket,
Coat
but-
pocket, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's small, but not that
it's
small.
super small.
Yeah.
And it's great.
What about the 21 Summilux? Brad asks. We talked about that a lot in the wide angle video. 21 Super Omar is superior optically, but when we finally get to the section when we talk about nighttime astrophotography, you'll see why the 21 Lux
Has a place.
has a place.
For
We're not there yet.
sure.
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
Keep going, keep going. You're welcome, everyone who's saying thank you.
I need that shirt.
why did we
Oh, yes, Rob Passman, you do.
Yes, Rob, I'll send you one. It's okay.
There's
Okay.
a question there from Ali.
Yep.
You see that?
What's that?
Using a thin bar lens,
Yep.
if I don't use the center spot filter, should my image still look soft? Absolutely. Thin bar is a soft focus lens. The soft focus filter just makes it more soft focus.
Right.
That lens, without the soft focus filter, I've tested this, past f6.3 or so, starts to look more like a regular lens, but even so, it's still not nearly as sharp as even the next softest 90 Leica.
You're not getting the Thambar for performance.
Yeah.
You're getting it for the magical look. Because that's like the look that you get out of the Thambar, especially at, let's say, 5.6 and wider, it's really hard to replicate in post-processing, to get that vintage feel and look. So that's why people like it. It's a look lens. It's a creative lens. If you're looking for pure performance, you're going to get a 90 Elmar or similar.
Yeah.
Or 90 Summilux, but that's, massively large.
Which one I don't have here, but I have a 75. Okay. I think we got most of the questions so far. We should probably just get to that question, the questions that are around it, right?
F8 him. Yeah.
No. Once our shirts sell out, that's it. Like our red dot wear is like one run usually. So you snooze, you lose, people. So I don't want to hear anyone in 6 months asking me for a medium legendary hood shirt because the only one that's going to be left is the one in my closet, which you can't have.
All right.
We should talk about nighttime photography, astrophotography.
Okay.
Although we don't really do it that much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do, but
Let me just address one thing off the top. The M10R with a 16-minute exposure time is the best M camera for
yes.
nighttime astrophotography. It's
Yes.
the only one that goes that far in color. I think monochrome is also 16 minutes.
Yeah, it's the same sensor architecture.
Yeah. So monochrome and M10R, both 16-minute maximum exposure time, which is really long. If you need longer, then I don't know. Do something else, I guess.
SL goes longer. SL2.
How long does SL2 go? I know this. We're not talking about SL2. We always talk
No,
about SL2.
but I think it's at least 20 minutes. And I think it's longer.
Well, you play
than
with that. But
there's a battery.
this is where the 21 and 24 Summilux lenses come into their own. Because as I talked about before, and we talked about, those lenses are optically inferior to their
30 minutes.
30 minutes for the SL2. Sweet. Are optically inferior to their slower aperture counterparts. So just because it's a faster aperture doesn't mean it's a better lens in terms of performance. But in a situation where you're against the wall, where you can't raise your ISO anymore and you can't open your shutter anymore, the only thing you have left to control is your aperture.
Right. And what Josh is saying in terms of shutter, in terms of astrophotography, like, well, why can't I just make a longer exposure? Because if you're looking to get pinpoint sharp stars and you're not looking to do a super long exposure where you're getting star trails, if you want sharp stars, your exposure time has to be 15 seconds or faster. Because if you're going to shoot a 2-minute exposure, you're going to get all these little half moons. And it's not going to be streaked enough to look cool. It's just going to look like you knocked the camera in the middle of the exposure. Because there's this whole thing about all the celestial bodies rotating and stuff. So the Earth spins, and that speed is about 15 seconds where you can actually start to see a trail on the star. So if you can shoot an 8-second exposure, it's going to be a lot more preferable to a 20-second exposure.
Yeah.
It'll look a lot crisper if you're shooting something like the Milky Way. And there, having a 1.4 versus a 3.4 will make a huge difference, because then you won't have to use 32,000 ISO. You can use 1600.
I do want to say, David touched on this a little bit, that he knows people that are using lenses like the Noctilux for landscape to get something totally different. 21 Summilux for landscape can do the same thing.
It can.
You can shoot that lens wide open as long as you have something in the foreground, so you have some fall off and you're not focusing at infinity. You'll get a very, very, almost a tilt shift kind of feel, because it's so wide, yet the focus falls off so fast. And that's really hard to do. So I think that lens is a bit underappreciated, but really that lens is for nighttime. And the thing is too, with the high ISO performance we have now in the M10 monochrome and M10R, and the Q2 monochrome, you can jack up your ISO pretty high.
I mean, the only yes, I agree with that, but I'd also have a caveat, which is what's happening. Let's say you shoot Northern Lights and you don't have the benefit of a full moon. So your foreground is completely dark. And you're just trying to capture the sky. And one way to do it is to take a second exposure, a time exposure just for the foreground. And then you're done with that, put it in the bag, literally bag, not in your bag. But once you have a foreground exposure and you haven't moved the camera and you start shooting Northern Lights for the actual lights, then you can merge that one exposure you took with whatever, best look you got of the lights, because it keeps moving and changing. That being said, if you move your camera to follow the light show or to recompose based on where the curve of the Northern Lights is, your reference shot is useless now. So very often we don't do that. We just take one single image, but you still need to pull up your shadows 2 or 3 stops. And if you're pushing the limit at 12,000, even on the M10R, let's say you're 12.5, yeah, the sky might look great, but you're not going to have a lot of room to pull up your foreground.
So it's a balancing act.
Oh, so much about
it's all about balancing, which we talked about many, many times. So yeah, hopefully that answers the questions. I mean, we don't do a lot of astrophotography ourselves. We have a lot of light pollution here in Florida, and so
Yeah.
If anyone has any additional insight, feel free to chime in. We love that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
So I'd say 21 Summilux is great for that.
Which we can show. You got the close up on you.
Yeah.
Just to show that lens, sort of get a feel for what it looks like, so the people can see it.
The people see it.
That is a 21 1.4 Summilux. It's a beauty.
It's a big one.
Not that big. I mean, it's
No,
bigger
I
than a
mean,
Super Analog.
It's bigger than my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works.
So it's a little bit larger. 28 Summilux works great, and I would say, I'm gonna say it again. Q2's got an amazing 2817 that is ridiculously sharp at 1.7, and it's got some pretty capable low light ability as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fantastic nighttime, Northern Lights camera.
And it goes to 2 minutes.
Yes.
It should be long enough for most normal things, I would imagine. This
But-
could also be the camera that you have when you're doing long exposure noise reduction on the other camera. If you have the Q2.
He jokes about that.
I'm serious.
But oh my gosh, yeah. So often, if you're doing a 20-minute exposure, or let's say you're doing a 30-minute exposure on the SL2, which I have done, I think I've done up to 20 minutes. It is mind-numbingly boring, especially if you were alone like I was, sitting on a beach in the middle of nowhere, because it's 20 minutes to shoot the frame, and then it's 20 minutes of long exposure noise reduction. And while it's shooting the frame, you can't even look at your phone or anything that would cast light on the foreground because you'll ruin the picture. And you don't want to bump into your tripod. So you're basically just standing there with a backpack,
Twiddling your thumbs.
trying not to make any vibration or light or anything, and that's time for a quiet snack. That's about it.
Yeah. I think that.
So yeah, it's actually nice to have a second camera that you can still shoot with.
Yeah. You have a lot of time to do it. We've had more questions come in, so let's.
Yeah.
I have a 24 Lux. Okay, very cool.
All right, James. Hello, James. If you want to photograph buildings at night, I guess we can call that urban landscape. Mm-hmm. That is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Richard Sexton, who instructs our monochrome workshops, actually, he has an entire project, a whole book on industrial landscapes around the Louisiana Delta. So if you want to photograph buildings at night with the M10R, what is the best way to calculate exposure? I'm going to just say it again, just so we're very clear. Protect the highlights. Your highlight should be as bright as possible without blowing any highlights out. Because you don't want to, pitch black image. You still want to have a nice image. But just look at your histogram, make sure that none of your highlights are actually clipping against the edge, and make sure there's nothing flashing. That would be my one thing. Although with the M10R, you have actually a bit more latitude. So even things that show as being blown out are still recoverable.
But I think
But
if you're asking how to calculate the actual exposure, it's going to be a little trial and error.
Yeah.
Because the camera doesn't necessarily know how you want to
No.
meter and where your most vulnerable highlights are. Because you're shooting buildings, they're not moving. So you can just take an exposure, evaluate it, use the blinking warnings, and then go from there and adjust accordingly. But that's the goal, is to protect your highlights.
Yes. Yes, John. Light pollution filters are available. Actually, Breakthrough has a night photography filter that we showed off last time, and that is absolutely true.
No, the only Leica camera you can turn off long exposure noise reduction on is the SL2.
Well, you didn't. Nobody knows the question you're answering.
Well, the question. Oh, sorry. The question is,
Can you turn off long exposure?
Mariano asks, can you turn off long exposure noise reduction
on the M10R or the Q2?
You cannot. Only on the SL2.
And I would also give that public service announcement. I have tried it on the SL2. For my personal work, I do not turn off long exposure noise reduction. It is frustrating to stand there twiddling my thumbs, but I'm standing there twiddling my thumbs to get the absolute best quality image I can get, which means long exposure noise reduction is on, because sometimes you end up with speckles in the shadows that are very challenging to deal with.
I think somebody's calling you out on your celestial body comment. That's because you got your degree in astrology. That was the mistake you made, not astronomy.
Where is this? Who said this?
Scroll up a little bit. He says, Bill says, no, the celestial bodies are not rotating. Well, isn't the Earth a celestial body?
It is a celestial body.
Come on, Bill. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on now.
The Earth is rotating. The Earth is rotating.
Oh,
Yes.
my goodness. All right. That's funny. Okay.
And actually, other bodies are moving in orbit as well.
Don't get into this now. Everything's moving. We're all just vibrating atoms.
There we go.
Scroll down. So 21 zoom lux on the SL2 is great astrophotography setup. That's right, because you get the fastest maximum aperture, the widest lens, and the longest shutter speed that Leica lets you have. So 30 minutes at f1.4, 21 millimeters. I would love to see Rob.
But there's a but. There's a but.
Okay.
But the M10R is going to be cleaner high ISO.
True. But at base
Then
ISO, if we're at base ISO, they're
For
going to be
base
very close.
ISO, they're going to be really
They're
close.
gonna be really close, yeah.
But at higher ISO, I think the M10R is still going to have an advantage.
Oh,
over
definitely.
The SL2.
No, I agree with you 100%. Definitely will.
The SL2, believe me, I mean, I use the SL2 for the majority of my landscape work. That being said, I do think the M10R offers a little bit better dynamic range and better high ISO performance by enough, a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do we miss? Scroll up, scroll up, scroll up.
I don't know what that means. Okay, let's see.
Keep going. Scroll up more. Past Bill's comment. No, keep going. No. 30 minutes is pretty impressive. Too long for me. I don't have that kind of patience because in an 8-hour night, you only get 16 exposures. So, no, 8 exposures because it's an hour each.
Oh, I mean, we should say. So John asks, several times I've mentioned the dual native ISO capability in the M10R and the M10 monochrome. Yes, you are correct on the M10 monochrome. But what are the two native settings? Like it doesn't say. They just say that it's a dual native ISO structure. If I had to guess, which is just a guess based on a test, and you can actually look at my, do I have this in the M10 monochrome sample? Yes, M10 monochrome and my ISO article, Black and White ISO Showdown 2020. You can check that out and you judge for yourself where you think the noise kind of plateaus and then starts going again. But my best guess is that dual native is like 200 and then again and this is for the monochrome, and then again at 3200. But maybe?
We don't really know.
We don't really know. Like it doesn't say, they don't publish the spec.
Yeah.
But you can look at the pictures for yourself and see if you can spot where it, kind of maintains.
Matt says we could have called it the hoodie t-shirt. Yes, I thought about that, but that would really confuse people.
Ooh.
That would really confuse people.
Oh, we should have a hoodie. We have to have a hoodie.
And if you don't know what Matt's talking about, I'll mention one more time. The new legendary Leica lens hood tee, designed by Kirsten, concept by Josh.
It's not green though.
You should get
Kirsten, if you're watching,
You should get it.
we've got to do the hoodie.
It's not green. Is that what you said, Jose?
Yes.
No, I did have a brief love affair with the green Overworth bag last week, which I still love. But now my new obsession is this absolutely fantastic and far more affordable than an Overworth bag, legendary lens hood tee.
Right.
I'm not gonna stop. What did we?
There's some kits for night photography, which we kind of covered already. So 21 Simulux, 28 Simulux.
Yeah. Either an M10R or an SL2 to get the most long exposure time.
What about using a CL for astrophotography?
I don't even know what the longest shutter speed is on a CL. That shows you how often I use it for that purpose. Let's find out.
Let's see. It's a race.
The CL is
I don't have a battery in mine.
Oh, the CL is such a great travel camera that
I love it.
I've
never used it for
I've never used it for that. But let's see.
It's got surprisingly good dynamic range, though.
Let me go to base ISO.
At base ISO, you have about 3 stops of shadow recovery on the CL. So I've been super impressed with it.
I'm going. 30 seconds.
It's not that long.
Not that long, but again, I wouldn't use it.
It's not for that.
Although you could do nighttime photography at 15 seconds, but it's not.
Of course. Yeah.
It's not. That's not what its MO is, if you will. But it's a good camera for a lot of other things, and we did a whole episode on it. Hoodie. Yes, hoodie. We're gonna do.
I'll buy the hoodie. All right, we got a vote here. Oh, and another hoodie.
Yes,
okay.
We're gonna do it.
Yay!
Jose, you got some more questions for us, I know.
Yep. Does the M10 monochrome have tinting options like the Q2 monochrome?
Oh, the toning.
Yeah, the toning options. Probably. I never
don't know.
use
Does it? Let's see. I have it
I
right
have. No, you don't.
Oh no, they have an M10R.
I have it. JPEG settings, toning. Yes, you have sepia, blue, and selenium.
Yes.
And weak or strong in the strength. But it's only for JPEGs.
Right, they're not identical. Well, on the Q2 monochrome, it's also just for JPEGs. You have slightly more toning. I think there's 4 main toning options with adjustments after that. This one has 3. So yes, but kind of.
Tom in Singapore received his bag. That's amazing that he made it all the way over there.
Do you like it?
Hopefully the packaging was okay. I tried really hard.
How was the poem?
How was the haiku?
How was the poem?
Did you get the haiku? I wrote everybody who got one of those bags. I wrote a haiku in my handwriting as promised. If you didn't order one, you missed out. So I wasn't kidding. I'm a man of my word. I'm just saying. Next question. Jose.
Yeah, I have one from Lewis from earlier. Let me see here. Can you share your gear, camera or otherwise, recommendations for a trip to the Southwest, Zion, Grand Canyon?
Great place to go shoot.
Yeah, we did a workshop there maybe 7 years ago. 6
Wow,
years
it was a
ago?
long time
I
ago.
know. I feel.
Yeah, we went to Monument Valley. I've also been I've been to Zion and Horseshoe Bend, Grand Canyon.
Yeah. So whatever it's the good stuff, bro. What kind of gear are we talking about?
M kit, by the way, he's referring to M kit.
What kind
yes.
of M kit are we bringing to those places, David Farkas?
Well, I found a lot of use for the unfortunately discontinued 18 millimeter Super LMR, which is on the front of that camera, I believe.
On the SL2,
Yeah, the SL2. So the 18, I love the 18. If you can't get the 18, you could use the wide angle tri-LMR would be great. The thing is, if you're shooting in canyons and things like that, so if you're doing slot canyons in Zion or in Glen Canyon or something like that, like Antelope, you're gonna want something really wide because you can't move in there. You're like going sideways through these slot canyons. You need the widest lens you can get. And you can't use a tripod generally, so a wider lens is also going to buy you a slower shutter speed, being steady. So an 18 or a 21 or a 16, 18, 21, definitely got to like base everything for these big landscapes out west. You're definitely going to want something really wide, but also some of my favorite pictures from the Grand Canyon were actually with this 180.
I think this is a theme that we talk about a lot, which is using telephoto for landscape.
Love it.
The landscape questions we always get are like 21, 18, 24. We do a lot of telephoto landscape photography. We like to take segments out of the scene, little isolated sections. We enjoy the compression that you get. So I could easily use a 400 5.6 something for landscape if I'm like in the great outdoors type of situation. And that could be my only lens because I enjoy the way that produces images. Not for everyone, and it can get repetitive if you're not careful, but I personally, just like my car photography is all shot like with the 90-280 SL, 135M lens, 55 to 135 TL lens. So we should do an episode on car photography with Leicas. I'm determined to eventually do that. If anyone wants to watch it. And even if you don't, I'll still do it.
We've had some requests.
I may do it because that's all I really do.
Yeah, we've had some requests. So I'll just show, like, this is a telephoto shot.
You want to switch to the old Computron?
Is that a telephoto shot or normal?
Wasn't I next to you when you took that?
You were.
That
might have just been like a 35 or a 50.
No, I think it was long. That was longer than that because we were far away.
Let me find something that's actually long. How's that? This one.
That one is for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was a 180. This was a 180.
Yeah, I remember that. Can we switch?
Yeah, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was shot in Monument Valley when I was with this guy, shot with a telephoto lens. So I've isolated one of the mittens here, and it was just a beautiful sunset, and you have those nice layering. It's a little blocked up on the I see on the video, but on my screen I've got a little bit more nuance here in this general zone. So sometimes you don't want something super wide. Sometimes you want to have this notice how everything's very flattened. The mitten, which is miles in front of the background, in front of the other ridges here, it all looks like it's in one single plane, and that's part of what makes it nice. So
yeah, that's the reason we like telephotos for landscape photography, because you can compress your layers, you can make something look more like a painting because it's almost becomes two-dimensional in a lot of ways. So I like that look.
And I'm going to give an alternative.
Oh, yeah, this is a good alternative.
Okay, now this is Ansel Rock, also shot in Monument Valley.
Yeah.
And this is the next morning, actually, I believe, maybe, or one of the mornings. So this is shot with a 21.
This is a while ago. I
Yeah.
remember what lens.
So this is about a 21. Okay, so obviously you can see that's the same. We're in the same spot. And this mitten there that I'm zooming into, that's what I shot with the 180. Okay, and I isolated just this area, basically, with a long telephoto lens. But this is with an ultra wide angle lens. And it's a very different kind of scene here. So I think especially in these desert scenes, if you can find a strong foreground, a wide angle works great. And if you want to isolate, or just Yeah, because I remember that color. Like there was really great color in the sky, but only at the horizon. Up above was all dark. So throwing a long lens on allowed to fill the frame with beautiful color rather than just a sliver of it.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. That was a fun trip.
That was a great trip.
One day we'll go back.
Nope, never.
Never. I just remember standing in a river in Sedona.
Yeah, blocking my picture.
Blocking everybody's pictures because I just was, whatever. It felt like it. What else we got, Jose?
All right. For the M and Q, what is the smallest aperture to avoid diffraction?
I think it depends. Well, Q or Q2 is going to be different because the pixels on the Q2 are smaller. I'd say you could go to f13 on a Q.
On which one? On the Q?
On original Q.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go past
11 or 13.
I wouldn't go past f8 unless I had to on a Q2. M is the same. M240, M10, f11. Maybe even a little bit past it. Yeah. M10R, M10 monochrome, f8 at the most. Maybe even a little bit before that. If your objective is the absolute no diffraction whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because those pixels are much smaller. Not much smaller, but they're smaller, so
they're smaller.
Diffraction comes in sooner. What else?
All right, question from James. You have discussed how the sensors in the Leica M and SO2 are optimized for the use of wide-angle M glass. What happens when these same lenses are used with an adapter on the crop sensors of the TO2 and CL? Is there a sacrifice in image quality?
Definitely not, because
why?
you're not using the edges of the lenses, because that's really where the performance threshold is and what makes them so complicated to design. So if you're using a 21 Super Elmar on a crop sensor camera like the CL or the TL2, they're going to have a very nice 32, right?
Something like
30,
that.
31 millimeter, 32 millimeter lens. So no, there's no, trying to think of the right way to explain it. There's no performance issues.
Because you're just capturing the central
Right. So
zone.
even though those sensors aren't designed for M lenses in mind, like the SL2 and M cameras are, it's not as relevant because you're only using the center section of the lens anyway. So go ahead, go bananas. Actually, the 21 lux is kind of fun on the CL because it becomes basically a 35 lux, except it has the field of view of it or the look of a 21. So it's like almost tricks your brain. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things.
Go in the chat, David. We're missing questions.
Do you guys want to go talk about some bags?
Bags.
We totally forgot to talk about bags.
Bags.
I only have one bag to show, so let me go first.
I want to talk about bags.
And then David's going to talk about bags. So I'm going to show a bag that I touched on. I have them all, David.
Oh, okay.
See, this is why I have them
I'm
all.
getting nervous.
He would just go out, he'd be out of control. I'm just going to talk about one bag real quick that I talked about already, but I feel like I was just too dismissive of it, so I'm going to talk about it again
Oh, no.
briefly. What do you mean, oh no? It's not the Bowery. I'm done with the Bowery. No, it's another Ono, which I did find out was recently discontinued, so unless you can find one of our refurbs, you're not going to get one. I won't spend a lot of time. This is the Union Street. I like this bag because it has the length. The main advantage of the length is it does allow me to have a very comprehensive M kit in here and then throw a tripod on the top and close the bag up. So if you have a compact M kit, CL kit, or similar, and you want to carry a small tripod, you would extend these out. You want to carry a small tripod with you and or an iPad or a small laptop, the Union Street has the length to do it without being a particularly ungainly bag. It's still quite slim. Show you here. So this is my personal bag. I use it all the time. Own a Union Street. Just a fun bag for maybe an M body or two M bodies, 3 to 6 lenses, especially if you use the back-to-back caps, and then a compact tripod would fit right on the top. So just something fun, something different, very durable. I've had this for several years. It's been literally all over the world, and it still looks pretty good, I think. So that was my only bag that I was going to show.
All right.
David has like 50 bags he's going to show.
No,
so.
I'm keeping it
Hey,
small.
which
like
one do you
that.
want first, Mr. Farkas?
Give me the retrospective.
This
15.
one?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I don't want you to be knocking stuff over.
I'm not gonna. Okay,
Let me
let's
take
try
a
to clear.
I'm gonna take a few toys away.
Leave me a couple things to put in it though.
Well, there's
I'll
still,
reach
still
over
in
here, I'll
the
reach over.
proximity of you, so this one should go far away.
Yeah, for sure.
Here we go. Okay, how are we doing? We're good?
I think so.
Oh, sorry.
It's very
Okay.
good. Okay.
So I got this.
So this is the Think Tank Retrospective 15. Very cool bag. I like the styling. It's kind of I don't know, almost mil-spec looking, with the grommets and the tie-down points and stuff. And very, very practical. What I like about Think Tank is they're very utilitarian in terms of both storage usefulness, accessibility, durability, and also comfort. So I'm a big fan. These straps are just, really heavy duty foam with, breathable mesh, big padding on the back with a nice lumbar, padded lumbar support. You actually get a, halfway decent waist strap, and it's a rear access port here to get into the main section of the bag. And this is, plenty big. So let's just start throwing some M gear in here.
Carefully, please.
Carefully.
Oh, I'm so nervous. I always get nervous when he does this.
I know. Yeah, so
Just haphazardly throwing it.
yeah, but clearly you can see that you can fit just like anything in here that you'd want to fit in. This is maybe even at the larger end of what you want to fit.
I probably wouldn't have a bag bigger than this for a compact landscape kit.
No.
Unless I had, an SL or one larger body and lens that I was bringing along.
But it gives some flexibility because you could use this for a small SL kit.
And this is not a huge bag. Let's be real.
No, and it's light.
This is actually nice because it's big enough to fit your M kit with extra stuff, whether it's filters or snacks or
under the seat.
And it's covered in dog fur, and it's still
Covered in dog fur.
This is like hold it up kind of so they can see just the size of it, like this. Yeah,
Well,
give it like a spin. There we go.
You can see here.
Give it the old. Yeah, it's really it's a pretty
small.
it's a pretty well proportioned bag.
It's like a book bag.
It's not like a big camera photo backpack like some of the stuff we showed on the landscape.
No, and what's cool is if I just open up the side, throw me that tripod one more time. Yeah. What's neat is I can just boop,
The other way.
even this way.
Does it go that way?
It will go this way. You can just drop a whole tripod right in there,
Pretty sweet.
and you don't have to carry it.
And it could do that.
Yeah, it can do that. Or, of course, as I like to say, you can also stay hydrated.
Put in a red dot wear
Boom.
Barnack thermos product placement.
And you still have a tripod
Wait, can I
put over there.
Can I just put this in here?
No, please don't. Anyway, let me open this guy up. From the top, what's cool is you also
Keep your
have...
thermos out so you don't knock it on the floor. Thank you.
The dog will knock it over.
The dog will knock it over.
Yeah, so you got a top section here that I like, and you can access your gear from here. So if I just have a camera up top, I could just use a small kit here and then put, clothes or other things in the back.
Okay, so what model is this again? Just rehash?
This is a Think Tank Retrospective 15.
Okay.
And that'll hold up to a 15-inch laptop. It also, I believe, has a tablet holder up here as well. So it's got a nice gusseted front pocket. And just nice overall bag for everything. Bag. And it's pretty subdued, not like, doesn't attract too much attention.
When we're talking about backpacks, so I'm showing the Mind Shift?
Yeah.
Let me trade you.
Now this is...
Careful.
This is Mind Shift. This is a bag from Mind Shift, which is a think tank company. So basically this is kind of their more outdoorsy looking stuff. I think the retrospective is more, general, I can wear it anywhere. Mind Shift is a little more outdoorsy. And this is their 18 liter or 18L called a backlight. So it's very lightweight, and it actually has even more robust padding than the retrospective with what I like, a very substantial waist belt, because the best backpacks are ones that you don't actually wear on your shoulders in terms of bearing the weight. You wear it on your hips, and your shoulders are just there to stabilize it. So this is kind of that next level. But again, this is going to be on the larger end of what I would take for a small kit. Plenty of room inside, about the same as the retrospective.
Yeah, I'd say
maybe a little bigger.
A tad bigger.
It's 18 liter versus
good size though. Yeah, good size.
Same thing in terms of the side pockets, but this also has a little trick that if you go in the front, this gives you a little tripod clip here, and on the bottom, when you pull this out, boom. And now you can put the tripod, bottom of the tripod right here, clip this around the front, around the top collar, and it's right in the middle, and you're good to go. So this is a little bit more, what I say, maybe more landscape focused. Got a lot of tie down points, a lot of pockets, and a little bit more weather sealed. They both come with rain covers though.
Yeah.
So I like both of these bags. Very comfortable. They're big enough. Well, both of those bags are big enough for a small SL kit or a larger M kit. And now talking about, this is a retrospective, but a shoulder bag. And actually, this is one of my bags. And yeah, it's just easy, light shoulder bag.
Which one is this again?
This is the retrospective 5, version 2.
Think Tank
Retrospective.
5.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Carry on.
Yeah, and it's just a nice, basic, lightweight bag. Super padded strap, which I love. And I've been a big fan of these for the first version. I have a few of the original retrospective bags. This is my version 5 that actually I was using for my latest Q2 monochrome testing. I use this bag. And this is going to replace, this is a retrospective 7. This is going to replace my version 2, my current retrospective.
Peter says he likes that one.
Which one's that?
This one.
The Mindshift backpack?
The retrospective. Look, Peter Dueling.
This is Mindshift backpacks.
Well, scroll
awesome.
up, go look up. I like the Think Tank. Your mouth is really over it.
Yeah. Yes. Mindshift is great.
No, Peter says I like the Think Tank retrospective.
Oh, the 7. Yeah. So this is the, sorry. So this is the 7. It's a bit, I have used this as well for any manner of kit. Actually, everything from CL to M to even a small SL kit. I use my original retrospective 7. This is just updated with new features, and I love it because it's got a big gusseted front pocket. You can actually put prop here. I love that I can just put a bottle of water and then put the Velcro tab down so it doesn't bounce around. When I'm actually out shooting, especially if I'm in the desert walking around, I'll take 2 of these small bottles of water. I know, not super environmentally friendly, but they're easy to get. And it doesn't sweat on my gear. This is also neat because it'll hold, let's say, an iPad. So here's a 11-inch iPad Pro, and that'll just slide right there. Or you can fit up to a 13-inch laptop in here into the 7, which is really nice because it's not a big bag. And I just have to say, this is also my geeky comment for the night. Mm-hmm. I'm allowed, right?
You are.
Okay. If you guys have been following, because we had a whole episode, 2 episodes on computers and post-processing and all that, and I said kind of wait and see about the Apple Silicon, the new stuff, and I am extraordinarily impressed by what Apple's come up with. Their M1 chip is just blowing my mind in terms of what it can do and the kind of battery life. And I am thinking that MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro 13 is £3 with close to 20 hours of battery life with color accurate P3 screen and screams for photo editing. It would slide in a bag this size. And I'm thinking that's going to be probably, a hot landscape.
Are you going to get
setup.
matching laptops for us? Yes. Okay, next question.
I'll get you a Mac. It comes with 2 stickers in the box.
Oh, I'll take the sticker.
You get the sticker. So anyway, I think that's if you looked at our previous episodes, I recommended using an iPad Pro for processing on the go. I think I'm going to change my recommendation to the if you want
pending testing.
I've seen some online testing that's blowing my mind.
Okay.
So I really highly recommend checking out the thing. I actually put a link, and it's $1,000 for the new MacBook Air with the M1 chip, which is the same price as an iPad Pro.
Wow.
I would much rather have.
We don't sell Apple, by the way. We're not. Actually
we don't, but I'm
he just likes it. He goes to the Apple store and buys it himself.
Yeah, those are some bags. It depends if you like, if you're comfortable just carrying a shoulder bag or you want the backpack for going and hiking further.
Before we forget, we got to show him the new head.
Oh yeah,
that's on the ground there. Not that head, the tripod head. We're slowly getting in the new goodies from Colorado Tripod. We got to get a close up of this. Not the tripod itself.
This
is an old Gitzo, but the head. Tell them what it is, David. What do we got?
So, did we show this off previously?
Well, didn't we just get this in?
We might have. I don't know. This is a Colorado tripod head. This is their small Highline small head. and it is pretty rockin'. So this one is black and gunmetal, which we have, as well as just an all gunmetal, I believe, which is all this lighter gray color. Would look more like this without the red knobs. It would just be all the
Which
silver
one is that
color.
one? That one's cool.
This one's a mini, which isn't offered yet. So just
this doesn't exist
don't-
yet?
don't look at
Are
that.
we allowed to show that?
nope, not yet. Yeah, so this is the Highline small ball head, and I have it on a 1 series Gitzo tripod for scale. And this one will hold, I believe, 50 pounds of load on here, and it has separate lock, pan, and friction adjustment, and it uses an adjustable with a safety catch Arca style plate. Try to get that there. Okay. Arca style plate, which it comes with, nice metal plate. And
there we go.
It's got that nice
Little zoom action.
lever clamp, which I love that little click action. And it's got an adjustment feature here. So if I undo this, you'll see. Just take that out. You can see that I can vary the size of the width of the bite. So if you're using the breakthrough plates, or if you're using Arca Swiss or Really Right Stuff or Kirk or Gitzo or whatever, they're all slightly different sizes. So this allows you to adjust precisely to the size plates you have. And then I really like it. It has a safety catch, so you can't accidentally disengage it. And of course, I mentioned this, it has these teeth here, so you can grip it when you have gloves on. And the same with the metal knob, also has nice knurling on it, so you can grip it with or without gloves.
John says, Colorado tripod. I'm from Colorado. I don't know about it. I think they're making them in a shed in your backyard, John.
They're making, yeah, so these,
because you open the shed. You probably haven't looked in a while.
yeah, they're making these in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah.
And
They're really nice. And they're just to be clear, we're kind of building up the hype for these. They're not really fully available yet. It will be worth the wait. I think 2021 is going to be a good year for tripods.
yeah, this is one of their tripods, but a 4 series.
Yeah, they're going to make smaller versions of this.
Yeah.
David is giving them his feedback on this stuff, and they're developing and tweaking. So we're excited to show you guys now. I know it's a little frustrating because you can't get it right now, but we're getting there.
We're getting there.
So
We're getting
hang
there.
on. If you are a Leica enthusiast, you're used to waiting. So this is easy compared to having to wait for the Q2 monochrome or whatever new hotness. We probably had so many questions that we just missed. Show us the green Oberth bag. No, that was last week. You can't. We're done with that.
Oh wow, there's
No
a
more
lot.
haikus.
Mind shift, yes.
Scroll up.
Non-leather shoulder bags. I did.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
the canvas ones.
Keep going.
Are there more?
Yeah. Keep going. More. I just want to see. I know what we left off.
More.
There we go. We'd have to receive my green bags. Scroll down. Keep going. Car photography. Yes. Okay, we'll do it. We'll frame my haiku. Thank you. Let's switch to
Examples are good. Okay.
Well, go back up a little bit. Says Mariano says I used my Q2 to photograph Antelope Canyon.
Yep.
And Hoshi Bend. I wish it was wider. We talked about that as what advantages you would have with an M body over a Q, which is if you want to be wider than 28, if you can't back up any further, Q2 ain't gonna get it done.
No, that's what I was saying. 18 is a little better in Antelope Canyon, having been there.
I did see a couple of questions earlier about metering settings for landscape photography. What do you recommend?
Whatever I'm doing, it's just to protect my highlights. So I don't usually use spot metering. It's more of trial and error to dial it in just the way I like, because I don't necessarily trust the camera's brain to know how I want the scene to be metered.
No.
If I don't have time to trial and error, I'll put in -1 or -2 stops of exposure compensation and call it a day. Keep in mind that on any M camera, film or digital, it's always a center weighted metering, unless you have live view. Then you have either a multi-field evaluative or a spot metering capability. So even if you set an M240 to spot metering, if you don't have live view activated, it's still center weighted metering. So keep that in mind. But I don't really change metering modes because I don't want to spend time like moving a spot around and like, oh, I left the spot here. I
leave it on center weighted myself.
Yeah, leave it on center weighted and I adjust with exposure compensation, and that usually works pretty well.
Yeah, works great.
There we go.
Oh, I didn't mention something about what's also cool about that Colorado tripod head. I think it's 7/10 of a pound, and it holds
Very
50
light.
pounds. It's super light, which is very important for landscape photography.
And we didn't talk about the green bag, but don't forget, we did talk about the legendary lens hood, like a t-shirt, which you should buy.
Okay.
I'll wear one on the next live stream if we sell 20.
All right.
20 of
So
these.
so I have to give just a couple. Let's hit on just a couple of what I think are essential things to make your life easier for landscape.
Yes. Let's
Just the little things.
power through a few small things.
Yeah,
first.
this is gonna be rapid fire, really easy.
Go.
Okay. Headlamp.
We talked about the headlamp already.
I know. Oh, boy.
What are you doing?
I'm
You're-
blinding the
you're-
people.
You're screwing us up.
All right.
I'm
Headlamp, super good. So, well, we talked about it in the previous one. But for those who haven't seen our previous episode, headlamp is great for no matter what camera system you have, because you go out to shoot a sunset, and it's light when you go out, and it's dark when you come back. So you want to have a headlamp. I would also recommend, if you're going out in the field, your cell phone is very important for communication, for navigation, and I do recommend having a portable battery charger. I like the MyCharge because it has a little lightning connector and prongs. So love that. Just in case, I always like to have a Leatherman. It's small, it's light, just in case, whether you have to do in the field repairs or, I don't know,
Chop down a tree.
chop down a tree or hunt your own food. You got it.
It's okay. Where are you going?
And I don't know. Similarly,
How do you hunt vegan food?
I don't know. Similarly, you cut the berries off the tree.
Oh, yeah. Well said.
Yeah. You harvest the lettuce.
Yeah.
I like having either a roll of this Gorilla Tape, or you can get a little travel size of hiking duct tape. Just great to have, especially if you're doing quick repairs of.
Oh, and don't
stuff.
forget, I'll talk about one thing we talked about before. They've been kind of hard to get on and off lately. The 2X battery boxes for the Q2 SL, SL2 batteries. We finally got them.
Oh yeah, nice.
They're slightly different now. He actually put the lettering SL on here, and the reason is because there's also now an S battery box,
Oh really?
which I just got. I haven't told you about that yet.
Ooh,
They're not in the system yet,
fancy.
but that's for later. These are really cool for holding a pair of batteries. We've got them in stock finally, so I would be doing a disservice if I did not mention that. But David has
Yes, couple things.
one other cool thing to show.
What did you? Give me my red beaner there.
Red-
Or just the carabiners.
Oh,
So I'm a big fan of being prepared for whatever. And that means for your body too, not just for your camera. So this is one of my very lightweight. I think this is 9 or 10 ounces maybe. This is an Arc'teryx Gore-Tex shell. I promise this is a full jacket. It just happens to be very small. And I'll generally, even if I'm carrying a small shoulder bag, and when I did my Q2 monochrome testing, we had a tropical storm bearing down, and I didn't know if it was going to rain or not, but it's also 85 degrees down here. You don't want to wear a jacket. So I didn't want to bring a huge bag, but what I can do is just clip this on to the outside of my bag, my shoulder bag, and it hangs there, and I have a jacket ready to go. I know that sounds super basic, but I know a lot of photographers who get caught out in the rain with no preparation. Likewise,
I should go.
Yep.
So.
I was one more on this topic, and then I'll.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Okay.
didn't see it. Okay.
Yeah, and then the next thing is, if you're going to a cold place, someone asked about shooting in the desert in the Southwest. Because of low humidity there, especially in shoulder season, like September, October, November, it can be pretty hot during the day. And as soon as the sun goes down and you're done with your shoot, it's freezing cold. Like the temperature plummets 30 degrees. I highly recommend having, this is also 7 or 8 ounces. And it even comes with its own little carabiner. Oh, it's so cute. This is an Arc'teryx Cerium LT, which is my favorite ever down jacket. It does weigh less than 8 ounces, and it will keep me warm just over what I'm wearing here down to the mid 40 degrees. And it's collapsible, it's small, and basically with these two things, you can be prepared for almost any weather over your regular clothes. So that's kind of my PSA. And then I love carabiners. A lot of the bags I like have attachment points, and you can just use these to clip on whatever's. It also, if you want an extra secure tripod connection or whatever, they're great.
Yeah.
Anyway, Josh is going to show you some cool.
Oh, yeah. So we talked about the iLead sensor cleaning sticks before. These are like the little gel sticks that we use to clean our sensors. We've talked about them quite a lot. this company is fascinating. They're based in Germany. They're very small. And I had the opportunity to sit down with the founder of this company. When was that? Last Tuesday? This week?
Thursday.
It was a few days ago. And we are going to expand some of our line of the products that they make because they're really made with the enthusiast in mind. They're extremely high quality. And David and I are geeks for that kind of stuff. So I learned a lot about some of their new products, some of the products they're bringing into the States. And one of them, or really three of them, is they make blower bulbs, which we talk about all the time for cleaning your gear, blowing off your lenses. And there's 3 sizes at the moment. This is the...
Is that the mini?
What's
the small?
This is the mini. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the mini, if you look at this little cutie,
So
is
cute.
very small. All of their blower bulbs, including the mini, are filtered. So there's a dust filter here so that the air coming in is clean when it's blowing out, so you're not blowing more dust around. It's got extremely good pressure and made in Germany. This is PVC, not rubber, which means it'll last quite a bit longer than the rubber equivalents. It even has a little made in Germany. Probably can't see that.
I don't think they can see
That's
that.
okay. So this is great for a very small kit when you still want to have the ability to bring a blower bulb. And keep the close up on me, Jose. Let me show real quick the other 2 sizes that we have. This is the M Basic, for what it's worth. This is larger, also with the dust filter at the end. This is going to be more for a larger M kit or depending on the size of your bag. And then there is the large L, which is the largest one. Again, PVC, dust filter, made in Germany. Super nice, good air pressure. So if you're looking to have a nice complement of blower bulbs for your kit, we have been on the hunt for a nice lens cloth. Now that Leica is not really making their expensive lens cloths anymore. Now we have the iLead lens cloth, which they also make. And I will pull that back
Oh, that's
out.
a nice lens cloth.
It's hard to find a really nice, like, tight weave, high quality lens cloth. So this is going to be part of my kit. This is mine now. I've stolen it. So really nice. So iLead is a company that supplies to Leica in Germany, and they're supplying to us now. And they make almost all their stuff in Germany. It's all designed in Germany. And the gentleman who founded the company has been in the photo business for pretty much his whole life, and is really obsessed with making these high quality, super particular products. So we're into it. I thought it was, we just got him in. It was kind of a cool opportunity to show some of the new iLead stuff. We're carrying a lot more than just that. If you search the website for iLead, you'll find it. I'm not going to talk about it all today, but I'm sure we'll send out an email harassing everybody about it in the next couple of weeks. So
I'll try to put a link to it.
yeah, some cool new stuff for sure. Maybe Kirsten, you can make an iLead collection next week and we can put it all together in one. So yeah, new iLead goodiness. I think we've probably covered everything we're going to cover.
Yeah, you got the lens cloths. Always have extra lens cloths. Always. And is there anything on that table that was
No,
like
I think we
goody
did
goodies?
it. And it's 10 o'clock. I think we have been very efficient.
Wow.
I'm impressed with our
Wow.
efficiency.
I am also equally impressed.
Yeah. Any last minute burning questions? Because we're feeling like we really covered a lot.
Go out and shoot.
Go out and shoot.
Smaller tripod that you can show?
Josh showed one right there.
We have
The
this
Sue-Ray.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Sue-Ray, I forget the model.
1205.
1205. I think there's a rebate on these right now too, right?
Maybe.
I think so. We talked about this before. Compact, light, travel tripod, folds up. Too small for an SL, but good for an MQ or CL or TL.
Very inexpensive.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
less than $300.
Carbon
for the whole
fiber,
thing.
yeah, it's like $229 or something. And with the rebate, I think under $200. They also make their little tiny tabletop tripod, not something you probably would use for landscape, although if you're going to bring a really, really tiny bag and want something, it's better than nothing, or you're going to have to put it on the ground.
Or a rock.
Or a rock.
A tall rock.
But it does work, it's cute. Other than that, I think we've pretty much covered all the important stuff. I mean, there's obviously an infinite amount of topics we could cover.
For sure.
If you had to take one M lens for landscape photography, which one would it be?
50 Apo.
35 Cron.
Okay. I think it depends on the kind of landscape you're going to be in. If I'm going to be in Iceland, or if I'm going to be in Monument Valley, or if I'm going to be in the mountains. So
Wow. Yeah, that's a tough one.
it depends. It really depends. And we always say that, which everybody
I didn't say it at all today.
I said it depends because
did?
it does. I mean,
did.
But again, that's why we do this interaction.
How can you steal my catchphrase? then?
Because I don't know. That's why we do this show, because we know that simply stating something is not enough. We have to get into the reasons and the logic and the decision making to help you build a kit that's going to work for your photography. All right.
Is there a difference? Is there an actual difference between 50 Apo and 50 Summilux for stop down for
Absolutely.
landscape?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. 50 Apo at f8 is still better than 50 Summilux spheric at f8. Better corner sharpness, better across the frame, better color
Edges,
consistency.
corners.
It's a better lens. It's mind-blowingly good.
Listen, we don't make the rules.
Yeah, we do. We kind of do sometimes, but no, not really. All right, I think we nailed it. What do you think?
Woo!
Obviously, if you have more questions, throw them in the comments, send us an email, call us. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
David spends a lot of time reading and really answering the comments in detail, providing links when relevant. So if you comment on the video, you'll definitely get an answer for sure.
Definitely maybe. Definitely maybe. Let's see. Oh, there's more some cross chat on the 50 Lux here and the
Let
50
them
Apo.
have a good time.
I'm gonna let you guys have
We
at
did it.
So, all right. Well, I think we covered it. Again, like Josh said, if there's anything that we didn't cover, you have some burning questions. I think we mostly focused, it seemed like we mostly focused on M photography.
Which
but
we kind of figured.
Which kind of figured, but listen, don't rule out the CL or the Q or mixing and matching. I think that, a lot of these cameras can work really well together. Even if you have a larger camera, let's say you have a full SL landscape kit, but you want something that's gonna be a little smaller and lighter, there's options for you. If you have M, but you want something weather sealed, remember the Q2 is a great option, or the Q2 monochrome. And don't rule out black and white. It's fantastic for landscape. So really trains your eye. So,
yeah, I think we did it.
Yep.
Thank you, as usual, for putting up with us, and we had a good time.
I think
And
so.
and also, right, have a great Thanksgiving for those of you who celebrated
yeah.
in the States.
For sure,
This upcoming Thursday is a big holiday weekend for us, so hopefully everybody gets some time off and eats some turkey or tofurkey or whatever it is you eat on Thanksgiving.
Whatever you eat.
I've had your Thanksgiving food. It's pretty good, so I shouldn't give you a hard time.
Yeah.
We survived.
Yes, indeed. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Big thanks always to Josh, to Jose, to Kirsten, to the whole team, to Peter for tuning in tonight, and Rob, apparently, too. Always appreciate the eyeballs and the support. Be sure to subscribe to Reddit Forum YouTube channel. Click that little notification bell so you know when we post new content. And stay tuned if we're not exactly sure what our next episode's going to be.
Something fun, hopefully.
But it'll be fun, so
Yeah.
stay tuned for that. Again, if you're subscribed, you'll get a notification when we schedule our upcoming live stream. You want to stay tuned for that. Always check out red.forum.com. I've got links in the description. Also, a lot of the stuff we talked about is linked below, so a lot of the goodies. And you can just check it out at your leisure. And in the meantime, drop a comment. Happy to engage with you in the chat. As always, thanks for joining us, and we will see you in the next one.